technical difficulties of turning on your computer in the morning. But anyway, I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the regular and executive sessions of Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll also be sitting as all taxing districts. This is the May the 3rd, 9 a.m. meeting. Board members will attend either by phone, by person, or remotely. I think everyone's here, so this is my call to order, and we'll begin with the regular session items. The first one of which will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Line, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item in the agenda is to, I think, put our phones in silence, I suppose. Got it. It's called to the public. Call to the public is held for the public benefits to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Anyone concerned about COVID-19 does not want to put himself into an open or herself into an open meeting can submit an email. Call to the public statement at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. This email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read aloud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Do we have any statements?
Yes, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, we have one. It's an email form, and it consists of 3 points. It's from Rebecca Lee, a resident of Sierra Sands, and she gives her address. She says, I am in opposition and respectfully requesting no approval for rezoning case 21-01. Chairman Reyes, members of the board, that's on the agenda today during the zoning cases. No approval for rezoning case 21-01 to rezone the 2 parcels totaling 10 gross acres from rural area 10 to suburban site built 2-acre minimum on assessor's parcel number 748-36-018 and 019. The reason is threefold. Number 1, the Yuma County 2010 Comprehensive Plan states that the Yuma Mesa planning area, which is within the bounds of this rezoning request, quote, has a character and development trend which is clearly rural in nature, end quote. Approval of this request would increase density for the entire Sierra Sands development to 1 dwelling per 1.86 acres, which is far from a rural definition and less than the county requirement. Additionally, the build-out plan doesn't stop here. The engineering department on February 23rd stated the overall build-out will be an additional 20 lots. More construction, more cars, more traffic, more degradation of the peaceful county life. This approval sets a dangerous precedent of density encroachment to a historically rural environment. Her point number 2 is, it does not appear a traffic study was required or completed for this rezoning request. However, in June and September of 2020, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved 10 new lots less than 1 mile from the current location under rezoning case number 20-10 and 20-15 off County 14.5 and 5E. These approvals already add an estimated 100 trips per day on 5E. Rezoning case 21-01 will add 50 trips per day on Sierra Sands and County 15th with the potential for use on 5E as well. These roads are well traveled already, and there is no plan in the fiscal year 21 Yuma County Capital Improvement Plan, either in the approved or unfunded projects lists, to address road repairs on 5E south of County 14, County 15 between 5E and 3E, or to extend 5E south of 15E, which should be designated a primitive road. This unimproved dirt road portion of 5E was listed as an optional access road to this location in the current condition summary of rezoning case 21-01. The increased traffic on these thoroughfares will degrade the road surface more than it is already. Her point number 3 is, current values of homes presently built in the Sierra Sands subdivision are impacted by the view of the mountains. If new homes are built with 2 stories, air rights are violated and the impacted view may lessen the value of pre-existing homes, as well as impact the well-being of those people already living in this community who enjoy the peace and views of the mountains. Currently, there appears to be no limit to the type of single-family dwelling proposed for this or future development on parcels 748-36-08, 217, 33-34, and 36-37. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you. I think we have it on paper. I was kind of reading after. So when we have
As zoning may have provided that.
when we
for
have
you.
one of those that we can, it's going to be read to the public, but really, if anybody wants to follow that, I think we have a copy of that on paper. And I do have a couple of, I would say, residents of Sierra Sands, because they're both, our address is Sierra Sands, and we will take them up, not at the public hearing section of it, but more, I mean, there's nothing we can do at the public hearing side. So we'll take them in when the item comes up, okay? So it's Eric and Larry Harvey and Eric Powers, okay? We're not gonna call them in right now. Oh, there's another one here. Oh, yeah. It's Deanna Bird, okay. We'll take him up when the item comes up, okay? All right, let's move on then to the next item. Yes.
I wanted to use call to the public at this
Hold on,
morning.
before you go, this is, there are some extra seats on in the next side of the bill. We're not gonna take up the Sarah Sands until we finish all the items that we have in front of it. So if you don't wanna be standing up, there are some seats on the other side, and when I called for that item, I'll call you everybody in, okay? That way you don't have to stand and just be there. Okay, hold on a minute, just let them settle a little bit, because it's right next to us here, okay? The place is right next to us. We'll get to it quickly. All right, now you can start.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Susan Thorpe, County Administrator. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Alejandro Figueroa. He's our new Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs Director, and today is his first day.
So now I know who he is.
Mr. Chairman, County Supervisors, it's an honor for me to join Yuma County and serve my community. I'm a native of Yuma, more specifically San Luis, Arizona. And I'm now going to be working with the administrator and the county administrator as the new Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs Director. So I'm planning to use all my experience in the public and private sector to benefit our community.
Welcome, thank you very much.
Great.
It's nice to see local talent coming back. And that there's a place for them to do some good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item in the agenda is presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. No legal action will be taken during these items. Is there anybody that wants to make an appointment or needs to make an appointment? If not, we're going to move on to the presentations, and the first one is a presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel.
Our Public Works Department observed Work Zone Safety Week in their own unique way. The Yuma County Housing Rehabilitation Program is helping out another family, this time in Dateland. And mosquito season is here. Do you know what you can do to help fight the bite? These stories and more, this is your County Line. This year, the Yuma County Department of Public Works is taking a unique approach to educate the public about National Work Zone Awareness Week, with the theme being Drive Safe, Work Safe, Save Lives. During the week of April 26th through 30th, National Work Zone Awareness Week was observed in Yuma County. The public awareness campaign aims to help everyone understand that we all play a role in keeping motorists and roadway workers safe. Each day of the week-long observation, the children of those whose jobs are directly inside of work zones sent messages to the public about their parents' safety.
We want people to understand that when there's employees out there on the road, that it's more than just affecting the community. It's also affecting the families that are involved. If anything happens, we don't want nobody to be distracted, and we don't want no one to be speeding in these zones, especially when there's employees or work zone out there.
Public Works employees also took part in a 2-hour Safety Day training, where they reviewed safety statistics and tips. A DPS officer was also in attendance as a guest speaker, helping to give guidance and share some of his own personal experiences while patrolling the roadways. Be sure to check out our Yuma County Facebook page to see how Public Works families help to spread the message of safety. On past county lines, we've brought you stories of a little-known program that has been life-changing for families in Yuma County. Our grants team leads the Housing Rehabilitation Program, which is back helping more families, this time in Dateland. The goal of the Housing Rehabilitation Program is to alleviate immediate health and safety issues in homes of low to moderately income families that pose or would pose a serious threat to the health and safety of the occupants. The homeowners who applied for the program had been living in a 19-wide mobile home in need of major repairs.
The applicants were having some issues with their roofing and AC units. There also needed some accessibility to the home, as well as energy efficiency in the home.
The project is still in the beginning phases of the program. We'll be bringing you updates on the progress of the home as the project moves along. If you're interested in the program, navigate to yumacountyaz.gov. Search for Housing Rehabilitation, and you'll find everything you need to get started. During the spring, when Yuma County begins to heat up, our Public Health District's vector control team goes into overdrive to protect you from mosquitoes that thrive in the heat. Yuma County vector control specialists have been battling viruses for many years, particularly in the springtime. They're responsible for killing millions of mosquitoes that could spread certain viruses, including Zika and West Nile.
About a month ago, we started our trapping program. We will continue to trap every 2 weeks throughout the mosquito season, which typically ends end of September. Sometimes we get into October. And then we take those mosquito samples, we bring them back to our lab here, or we send them up to the state lab, and we have those tested for West Nile virus, St. Louis encephalitis, and then depending on the species, we may even test them for Zika or dengue.
While our crews are doing everything they can to reduce the possibility of infection here, there's a lot you can do to help reduce mosquito growth around your home. Eliminate any standing water, empty bird baths or buckets, keep swimming pools clean and chlorinated, and ensure door and window screens are properly installed. Early mornings and dusk are critical times for mosquito contact. This is when they're most active. To help protect yourself, use a repellent containing DEET and wear lightweight clothing that covers your arms and legs.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. You can be a scientist, and we will tell you how right now. The Yuma County Main Library has 4 citizen science kits available that you can check out and take home for 2 weeks. These include zombie hunting, biodiversity, air quality, and pollinators. Each kit has a different set of items inside it and instructions that will allow you to conduct real-life scientific experiments. You can then upload your data that you collect through apps or websites, and that will help real-life scientists with real scientific research. They're only available at the Main Library Children's Desk, so stop on by today and pick up your citizen science kit. For more information on the Citizen Science Kits and any of our other programs that are going on right now, make sure to check us out online at yumalibrary.org, and don't forget to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube.
Before we go, we'd like to congratulate the 2020 Yuma County Employee of the Year, Superior Court Employee of the Year, and the Safety Excellence Award winner. During our annual Employee Appreciation event, held during the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the 2020 winners of their respected categories were announced. The 2020 Yuma County Employee of the Year Award went to Jessica Rodriguez with Human Resources. The Superior Court Employee of the Year Award went to Aaron Ballos with Conciliation Court. And the Safety Excellence Award winner was Miguel Parra with Public Works. Congratulations to the winners as well as all the nominees. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this County Line. If you'd like to watch past episodes, log on to yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. And don't forget, you can join us live on Facebook. We'd like to leave you now with a message from Yuma County employee Oscar Chavez III, telling us why he loves working for Yuma County.
My name is Oscar Frank Chavez III. The third's important. And I've been working for Yuma County going on 2 years now. I'm about 1.5 years in. I work in employee relations here in Human Resources. I manage FMLA for the county, unemployment claims, ADA, accommodations. I love that it's different every single day. I am a huge problem solver, so anytime I'm tasked with a situation where it allows me to be a problem solver and to come up with a resolution, it's exciting for me, so that's definitely the best part.
All right. That takes care of that part of our presentations. And we move on now to proclamations, which the first one will be proclaiming the month of May as Yuma County Nurses Month, and that will be done by Supervisor Pancras.
Good morning, everyone. Proclaiming the month of May 2021 as Yuma County Nurses Month, whereas the nearly 4 million registered nurses in the United States comprise our nation's largest healthcare profession, and whereas the American Nurses Association, as the voice for the registered nurses of this country, is working to chart a new course for a healthy nation that relies on increasing delivery of primary and preventive health care. And whereas professional nursing is an indispensable component to the safety and quality of care of hospitalized patients. And whereas the demand for qualified registered nursing services will be greater than ever due to the current health crisis, aging population, expansion of life-sustaining technologies, and the growth of home health care services. And whereas, along with the American Nurses Association, the Yuma County Public Health Services District has declared the expansion of Nurses Week to the entire month of May as National Nurses Month with the theme of Nurses Make a Difference. Therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 to be Yuma County Nurses Month.
Oh, there you are. Morning.
Members of the board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. Thank you so much. I just want to publicly thank all our nurses throughout the county who have done an amazing job through this pandemic and in response to our pandemic response, and we need more people to join the ranks. And fortunately, we are very lucky here that we have two amazing academic institutions. And I've said it before, when this started, we're making sure we supported all the nurses throughout, making sure they had PPE, making sure we had testing supplies, making sure that they had backup support, in the clinical care settings. And when we were exhausted and we were doing our very best to not only do our jobs, but support every other, allied healthcare professional and nurse in the county, those nursing students really stepped up, and I know they're not here today, but I really want to give a shout out to our NAU, AWC, and ASU students who really stepped up, helped us from day one with our vaccination, with our testing, and so that's our future of that profession. So I just really want to take this opportunity to acknowledge them.
Well, okay, can you stay there? We're gonna take the proclamation down to you, and we have Maria come over and help us pick it up. And, you know, I think we need to remember there's another college of nursing in South County, I think. Isn't that? It isn't? Well, okay, well, I'll let Amanda explain that to you.
There's that, they have allied health. Uh-huh.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realize you brought that. Oh, yeah, I should have known. I need some protection for my wallet.
Thank you.
In fact, some people are wearing a mask. It's
I thought we were gonna take one after that.
yeah, well. Thank you. Now, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation, another proclamation proclaiming the week of May to the 2nd, 2021 as Professional County Clerk of the Board Week. For this, we'll have Supervisor Lyons read it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Professional County Clerk of the Board Week. Whereas the Office of the County Clerk of the Board is a time-honored and vital part of local governments throughout the world. And whereas the Office of the County Clerk of the Board provides a link between citizens, local governing bodies, and governmental agencies at all levels. And whereas county clerks of the board have pledged to conduct affairs of their office in a manner that shall be above reproach, which merits confidence and trust. And whereas the Office of the County Clerk of the Board is sensitive and responsive to the rights of the public and its changing needs. And whereas the Office of the County Clerk of the Board records and preserves what is true and accurate. And whereas county clerks of the board continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of their office through participation in educational programs and annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. Now therefore, Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaims the week of May 2 through 8, 2021 as Professional County Clerk of the Board Week.
Thank you very much. Christy.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, thank you for this proclamation. This is the first time we've ever done this. And the other county clerks some of them are doing a proclamation as well. It's probably not well known by most people who don't work as county clerks or deputy clerks, but this is the only position that is required per Arizona State revised statutes that is not an elected position. And the duties of the clerks of the board, they span through many of the statutes. There are just, I think the Clerks Association, we did an research on it one time, or a couple of times actually, and there are just hundreds of things that we are required to do per the statutes. And it can be challenging to keep up with everything, but we are all just very blessed to be able to do this position. I am deputy clerk, and Susan is the clerk, and so I just kind of manage some of the stuff that needs to be done, and making sure it gets done when it needs to be. Again, thank you so much for this proclamation. It is very greatly and appreciated.
We don't get to take a picture with you, so we're going to take the opportunity.
No, I'm good.
Sure?
Yes, boy, girl, boy, girl.
Boy, girl, boy. I moved my wallet to the other side.
And Christy has received her first call, two girls here.
You know, it's okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's cool. 2 years going. But you've been with the county a long time. They're in my 31st year.
Yes, you are.
only been here 19 months. All right, that takes care of the presentations and proclamations. We'll then move on into the, obviously, the regular items. And the first regular items for our perusal is the consent calendar, where the following items are listed under the consent agenda, and they will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion, unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion. We have items 1 through 9. Anybody wants to pull anything? I want to pull item number 4. So does anybody want anything else? No? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 9 with the exception of number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve items 1 through 9 with the exception of 4.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and second to approve items 1 through 9 with the exception of 4. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, I'm going to take the mask so we can, item number 4, so that we can talk about it, is the resolution number 2021-04 establishing a citizen Yuma County Redistricting Advisory Commission as recommending body for the 2021 county redistricting preparation and implementation. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about where the process is. I know the process. The process will require for us to appoint 2 members each and then have those members or us appoint 3 individual members, correct? So it'll be a 13-member commission. You gave us a list of the commission of 2011 to sort of have, there's a couple of names I'm familiar with who have moved from redistricting commission to the other side of the aisle. I just wanted to make sure everyone here knew that those are pretty fast-moving deadlines. So we need to start bringing in those names as soon as possible. The other question I had is, do those appointments have to be done in an open meeting like this, or are the first 2 appointments sort of like planning and zoning commission? We make them. It doesn't, the rest of the board doesn't have to vote on them, but the other 3 are
So
board
you
decisions.
will, what we would like to have happen is that you would provide us the name, myself or Tiffany Anderson, our elections director, the names in advance so that we can ensure that they comply with the requirements of membership on the commission. And then, yes, you officially need to appoint them at a meeting, which you'll do at the next meeting, or you can postpone it if you don't have the names yet.
Are the numbers going to be available soon enough? I mean, to do the redistricting? It seems like they're a little behind. Are we still within the time frame? No, we're not. Oh, sorry.
That's what I was told.
Well,
Good morning,
no.
Chairman Reyes.
Good morning. But the question was, we're trying to do this sort of like on a sequence, because this is the way it's laid out. But are the numbers themselves going to be available to the commission for them to deliberate in time for them to present some sort of a recommendation?
So what we've heard, the latest update is the state will receive the numbers by September 30th. As far as our commission goes, there is work, since we do have our redistricting consultant on board. There is work they can do now as far as establishing our public outreach events, as well, like before the numbers, to educate the public about what redistricting is, and as well as after the numbers, after we receive the census numbers, to establish the new districts.
So basically, we're going to be going through a sort of, this is what we'll do when we get the numbers type of thing?
Correct.
And so.
It's basically planning. It would be planning for several months. The commission meetings, we may meet only once a month for the first period to start talking about the planning events. And once the numbers come, those commission meetings may need to be a little more frequent in order to work through the maps.
Well, I understand we need to do this and we need to get it going, but it obviously isn't on a rush situation. I mean, you would like to get the appointments done by this month, May?
We will be back. We have an item on the May 17th agenda for you to appoint the members to the commission.
That's more of a deadline. So we have until May 17 or by May 17 to appoint our 2 members. Are the other 3 members how are the other 3 members supposed to be chosen?
They will be chosen at large, so I imagine that your board would have recommendations for individuals, and you would discuss amongst yourself on the 17th to determine which 3 members will be chosen.
So the way the process looks like right now, we will appoint 2, which will be non-discussable between us. It's just an appointment that every individual board member will make, and then we'll pick I don't know, 4, 5, 6 names, or even 3 names, and then bring them up to the board for the board to discuss if it's okay to appoint them as the independent members of that panel. Is that more or less?
Correct. And as County Administrator Thorpe mentioned, as I was walking in, we're asking for the names to be sent to us of your proposed members by this Friday, so we can ensure that they meet the criterion established in the resolution this morning.
And the criteria is that they be
Qualified electors
US
within your
citizens,
district.
Qualified electors within the district.
Correct.
So no age limit, no, well, yeah, I mean, you gotta be registered.
We are also, in the resolution before you today, they cannot be related to members on the Board of Supervisors staff, the county attorney, or the county recorder's staff.
So, and I guess it's easy for us to find out, and when we submit those names, obviously they're gonna be screened, and, you know, and so before we get to appoint them, they get to be screened by the elections department to see if they fit all those qualifications. Well, the ones that I find a little more, you know, discussable, if for lack of a better word, are the ones that we get to appoint as at large.
Right, and we are asking that anyone that you're considering to propose on May 17th for the at-large members are also sent to our office, so we know they're fully vetted before your board has the conversation about which 3 you would prefer to choose.
Is there a deadline for picking any one of them? Appointing the 2 is gonna be sort of easy for me, and maybe even the 3 at large. I just don't know. You know, there's a difference between people we appoint that we know and people who may come up as possible at large. That may take a little longer if we don't, you know, we'll get the background and we'll talk about it. There's a slim chance, or maybe a good chance, that they will get appointed at the same time, but it may take a little longer. Is there a deadline to appoint any of the members?
What we would do is just bring it back to you at the following meeting to hopefully have you get enough time to identify those individuals. So to complete the commission.
The other thing that obviously it's a concern to me is that the board needs to meet as a full board to start choosing a chairman, vice chairman, and start dividing up the work, right? So we need to sort of get this process ongoing, get it in place so that they can start acting like a commission.
Chairman Reyes, in the resolution today, it actually states that within 30 days of the commission being fully appointed, that we must meet within 30 days. And the commission itself will decide amongst the 13 members who will be chairman and vice chairman for that body.
I did see one item in there. It says the composition of the membership of the commission shall reasonably reflect language and racial minority population within Yuma County. You do realize this is like a 55, 60% Hispanic county, right? I just want to make sure that, you know, I did not realize that. I thought, you know, you just appoint your members and sort of make up a commission, but the commission does have some guidelines and limitations that have to be followed. Okay, I don't think I have anything else. Does anybody have any other questions? No? Thank you. And, you know, I'll entertain a motion to approve this item as presented, which means we'll pass a resolution creating the district redistricting advisory commission.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second, passing a resolution number 2020-104, establishing redistricting advisory commission. Somebody must be thinking of me. Any other discussion? No more discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
It's a buzzing, yeah, you know, it was a joke, you know, but it didn't go, so we'll take it for another time. That takes care of the consent calendar. Yes. Oh, Jesus, I'm sorry. Are there any nays?
I'm a nay, simply because I just don't think that provides us enough time within that 30 days to fully vet.
All right, like I said, we will appoint and then follow through, and you know, we'll follow the process and see where it takes us. I mean, it's like I said, this is one of those processes that are statutory driven, and then there's some flexibility in there, but obviously they're driven a lot by statute. As you can tell, you know, it tells you when to meet, it tells you the composition, tells you a lot of you know, items in there. So fine. So it's a 4-to-1 vote to proceed, and the vote that was stated as a negative vote is more along the lines of enough time. Okay. All right. There was a 4-1 vote, right? We're moving on to the next item in the agenda, which is Discussion and possible action. Here, I want to take a little bit of a side trip. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't want to keep the health department here longer than necessary. They're too busy. I was going to take on the item that most everybody that's waiting is here for, but I'm going to take the health services report and then we'll move on to that item. So the next item in the agenda is county administration, public services, district emergency management, discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities. Mrs. Gomez.
The board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. I will keep it brief. So far, we have almost 142,000 doses of vaccine administered in Yuma County. Of that, almost 63,000 are fully vaccinated, which roughly accounts to 36% of our population, so we're making great progress. New developments, doctors' offices, effective today, can start ordering vaccine. They can do so in 200 dose increments every 2 weeks. This is just to make sure everybody gets their feet warm, gets ready to go, and then we expect that will increase. But again, it provides another avenue for people to be able to access vaccine. A lot of times people want to have that one-on-one conversation with their healthcare provider, so this is great news. Reminder that we still have a lot of availability at our state pod. That is the Arizona Department of Health Services pod that is at the Yuma Convention Center. You no longer need an appointment, so you can go in there and request your shot. They're incredibly efficient, flexible hours. Now they're going down to as late as 8 p.m. in the evening during the weekend to make sure that if you work, you have that flexibility in your schedule. And a lot of outreach is part of their 30,000 and 30-day campaign. As far as the health department is concerned, we will also, during the month of May, we've been focusing on going out to communities and having pop-up clinics where we've been going out to the community, partnering. The communities have been helping us register. We show up, we vaccinate. We are going to be holding some additional vaccine clinics during the month of May on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays, we will be, during the month of May, offering Moderna vaccine between the hours of 8:30 to 11:30. And on Thursday, we will be, so Tuesdays, Johnson & Johnson, I'm sorry, between 8:30 and 11:30. And on Thursday, I don't know what happened, thank you. And on Thursday, 8:30 to 11:30, we will be offering the Moderna vaccine. Other things, Dr. Chris hosted a town hall on Wednesday, and then it was followed by a Friday one, which allowed residents to call in, ask questions, get their questions answered. It was very successful. It gave us some insights into some of the concerns people have in reference to vaccine hesitancy. And so that is where we stand right now. And I would be happy to answer any questions now that I have some water. Thank you.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Regarding how soon do you expect approval for children 12 and up to come?
So the Pfizer vaccine is currently approved for children or anybody over the age of 16. The Pfizer vaccine manufacturer has indicated that they've completed their trials and that the vaccine has proven effective among the age group of 12 to 15. We expect them to seek emergency use authorization sometime in the next 2 weeks, and if approved, then that vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, would be available for anyone 12 and over.
So so when you're talking about the number of people that have gotten the vaccine, you're talking about, we began with 65 and older, and then we moved down the list. So there are probably, it's an indication that there are groups of different age groups that have gotten different levels of vaccination, and that the one that's most critical is the one we started with, which is the elderly, 65 and older, or people who had pre-existing conditions. Most of those that want the vaccine already have it. And if the news can be trusted, which sometimes it can, the fact is that we're slowing down a little bit in terms of applying the vaccine, but it's not very noticeable in Yuma County yet. When I see those numbers, are always like 2,000, 3,000 a day or whatever, which is basically the pace that we've kept in the past. There are some indications to me that they're starting to be a lot more difficult to get large numbers of people to come over and vaccinate. So now I just wanted to make sure that the listeners are aware that in reality, most of the places that now have vaccines, you can walk in and get a vaccine, and you don't have to make an appointment all the time and every time. If you want to get it done at a specific time and hour, and you want it to be a quick process, please do make an appointment. That helps organize the situation so that when you get there, you don't have to, I guess, wait as long and to get it done.
Mhm.
So, I mean, other than telling everyone we're still not out of this totally, please, consider. I mean, whatever your reasons are, consider getting the vaccine, if not for yourself, for your family and relatives and friends.
Mr. Chair, Diana, what percentage of humans have gotten the vaccine? Do you have that?
I think it's standing at about 36% right now. And so we're making some progress. Again, we're a young county as well. So once that vaccination is available to younger children, then that rate is expected to go up. As you mentioned, we started with 65 and over and then tiered down to 55. And that's because 90% of the hospitalizations and deaths occurred in that age group. We do know that young children who haven't had access to the vaccine are able to contract and pass on the disease. However, we've been really fortunate that with the exception of rare cases, they haven't demonstrated very serious symptoms. So we're inching there. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I just want to thank Diana for helping South County, especially Somerton. I saw the numbers last week, and with the zip code from 85350, about over 18,000 people have been vaccinated. So that's a lot. Kudos to your department and the city of Somerton for taking that on. And also this weekend they're going to have a clinic jointly with San Luis, Arizona, to vaccinate 16 and up.
I think we're planning that for the 15th.
Or the 15th?
Yes, we're doing a different event, but we are having an event in Somerton this week, yeah. So that's been the success, is having multiple events at multiple points in time to make it, you have to make it convenient for the people that live there and take it to them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I want to make sure that Supervisor Simmons gets the same treatment out in East County.
No, they've been doing a very good job out in Dayton.
And I guess the point that I want to make is it's so refreshing to see a department that understands the concept that when people can't come to you, won't come to you, you go to them, and it makes it easier, makes it faster, and it makes it effective. And you run a very effective program out in the outlying areas, contrary to other places that I know of. That old statement about there is a place less than 5 miles away where you can get a shot, that wasn't really the situation back 2 or 3 months ago when we started with this process. It was very cumbersome to try to get an appointment. It was very cumbersome to try to get yourself to it. The time when these vaccines were being applied was not really very, very conducive to people just going up or comfortable. Those things have improved quite a bit, and I am actually glad to see the state just giving it a big push to try to get. I mean, this is going to get a little rougher and tougher as we go along because of the efficiency that we're looking at. Bless you. But I still say that you've always been you're very, very, very effective in reacting to a lot of this stuff. So thank you, and thank Mary, because I know she puts together a lot of these events. So
Yes, and thank you for your support and for facilitating a lot of those, helping us coordinate those events.
all right, we'll be talking about the health department later.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, do we have the gentleman here that represents the Sierra Sands applicant? Does anybody know? Because I want to try to get that Sierra Sands thing in front of us as quickly as possible. Are they outside? No? Okay. Okay, well, what happens is this. I'm trying to get that item out as soon as possible so I don't keep everybody here waiting, for whatever discussion we're going to have. Unfortunately, the applicant's representative we don't see him. So is he coming, or is he just send a notice? He's coming, okay. We're gonna wait for him to show up so that we can actually have the hearing with everybody involved. So we're gonna try to move through some other stuff and get back to, as soon as he gets here, I'll skip everything else and go back to that item, okay? Anytime I see a PowerPoint presentation, I get, but we got Public Works next. Public Works, we will hear a presentation on the cost of solid waste operations within the Department of Public Works, operational costs associated with various waste streams and potential fees, followed by discussion and direction to staff on possible fees for the use of transfer sites. Okay, all right, well, that's it.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Josh Scott, Public Works Director. Damaris Martinez and I were here back in January, and presented on our solid waste operations and some of the funding challenges we have there. And during that presentation, we discussed possibly implementing a fee for use of our transfer sites. So we're back today. We have some specific cost information to present and a spreadsheet where we can take a look at the potential impact of various fee structures. Damaris is going to recap the financial piece for y'all real quick, and then I'll jump in on the discussion on the fee portion.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes and members of the board. So I'll be providing a brief overview of the solid waste operations. We are seeking direction from the board to find a feasible solution for the financial situation and potentially alleviate the pressure from the general fund. This is a slide that we showed in the last presentation, and it demonstrates the last 5 years of available funds and how we've operated in the red the last 2 years. So each year we have calculated that the trash tonnage and car counts continue to increase at the transfer sites. This chart demonstrates the yearly disposal fees, which are projected to double in the next 10 years. Based on our last discussion, we did a cost breakdown analysis of the different waste streams that we receive and found that 88% of the total handling and disposal costs come from household trash. Green waste, white goods, and construction debris only account for about 12% of the total handling and disposal costs at our sites. And we have partnered with local companies to divert a lot of these bulky items from the landfill and to help reduce some of the landfill fees. This is a list of the local companies that we have partnered with to divert these waste streams. And now Josh will discuss the fee structures used by other counties.
So as we mentioned when we were here on our last visit, we are the only county that doesn't charge across the board. Our nearest operation would be La Paz County. They only charge for construction debris. However, they do own and operate a landfill, so they do not have tipping fees like we do here in Yuma County. This is a kind of a reduced chart. Yuma is one that shows all the other counties.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't see Yuma.
That's because
Oh,
we
it's
don't.
not that.
Oh, you were being funny, sarcastic.
But based on this, in our research, you can see it varies out there from county to county. Some charge by the cubic yard, some charge by the vehicle, but all charge something.
Oh, they don't take it. The other thing is, or they don't take it. They don't take it. If it's a white good, like in Santa Cruz, you just won't be able to drop it off at the land site. It's just too difficult to dispose of. Construction materials are not accepted in Maricopa or Santa Cruz or Coconino.
Brand doesn't take it either.
I think that goes back to, those that don't take those kinds of commodities or waste streams, they're focused on residential and residential type household trash. We're not obligated to take those things.
Yeah.
We're not obligated to duplicate services that are available elsewhere in the community for the disposal of those items.
We did see 88% of it is household waste. That other 12%, you have agreements with companies that come and take some of that material. You may end up with a little bit, but obviously taking batteries and taking concrete, it's stuff like that. It's sort of difficult for a landfill that's not designed for those things. I mean,
correct, and it's expensive to haul it to the landfill. It's heavy, so our tipping fees are more.
All right.
When we were talking with these other counties about their operation and their fees, we did also ask about their experience with illegal dumping associated with fees. Now, a number of these counties have had fees in place for many, many years, and so staff really couldn't tell us, it had been decades since fees had been in place. But we did get some good feedback from a few counties, one being Yavapai. They've always had fees for the use of their transfer sites, but they do offer residents free disposal for 2 weeks during the year. They call it a neighborhood cleanup.
Oh, like a spring clean.
And then they do waive their fees for green waste for a couple of months in the springtime. They do have illegal dumping that goes on despite what's a fairly modest fee and the free events. So they do still experience illegal dumping. We also heard back from Coconino County. They've got some of the highest fees out there, but they reported that they have not seen an increase in illegal dumping with their latest fee structure. And Graham County was pretty interesting. They charge fees, but they actually have an unmanned transfer site in a remote area of their county and a drop box where residents are on the honor system to pay their fees, and it works pretty well for them. Apparently, they don't end up getting shorted out there. So, they do know that they need to raise their fees, but their board has been hesitant to do so there because of the potential for increase in illegal dumping. Last time we were here, we were asked to show what it would cost to dispose of trash at the landfills or what the other options are for residents. So we've got two here in Yuma. We've got the South County landfill, and they charge $30.50 a ton with a $12 minimum going in. I think it was Supervisor Porches that pointed that out. And Suburban Sanitation, that's Republic's transfer site off of 32nd Street and 3.5E. They give city residents a break. That was negotiated as part of their landfill contract with the city, but everybody else using their facility is going to pay about $68.
So if I want to dump a truckload, if I were a county employee, a county resident, I'd pay $66.18.
That's correct. We've verified that twice with them.
Wow.
And if you go to the South Yuma County landfill, no matter what the size of your load, your minimum will be 12. As it increases to a ton, you will get to $30.50. You get weighted in and weighted out. I don't, personally, I think we just can't keep going this way. People expect certain things, and I think that they're okay when we can basically cover the cost and don't lose any money. But when we started losing money, we need to start looking before it becomes a major problem, which is, I did see a little bit of a trend upwards, but it might have been just not a trend, just a year, an off year. We're still going to be drawing a deficit as the county goes bigger. And I don't know, maybe there will be some changes in corporations, those type of things into cities that may change that. But right now, the trend is you can't just sit around and wait till it gets worse.
Yeah, that's the challenge we have is every time we put out a bid for our landfill services, it just continues to go up. And it's understandable. They've got environmental challenges and regulations that cost them money, and that gets passed on.
I like the idea of 2 times a year where they can submit free. Put it in there for free.
Yeah, so there's a lot of options when it comes to that.
It would be similar to the cleanup that the city does once a year.
Correct, yes. And I think that's what Yavapai County was getting at, where the residents of Prescott or Prescott Valley probably have access to those services, but those that live in the unincorporated areas don't. So they have a 2-week free period each year.
Mr. Scott, do you have a recommendation, or are you just simply bringing out this information for us to start looking at a recommendation ourselves?
I have a spreadsheet that we can pull up.
Pull it up.
I could probably add one more slide, but I'll skip that. So this breaks down our 4 major waste streams: our household waste, our green waste, rock and concrete, our construction debris, and our white goods. And what we did is we looked at what it costs us to go hands-on with that material, what it costs us to handle it, haul it, dispose of it. This doesn't account for our overhead type stuff, employee training, PPE, travel time, between transfer sites, that sort of thing. This is just what it costs us hands-on with that material. And this is our current operation, so we charge no fees. And you can see we're running in the red. We're at a deficit in all of those areas. So what we did is we took this information and took a look at what it would be if it paid for itself. So for household waste, you're looking at about a $6 fee per load. Green waste, $9. Rock and concrete, your construction debris, $5 a load. And white goods, $1 per appliance. That would generate, we estimate, about almost $600,000 in revenue. Now, that doesn't get us totally out of the general fund. We would still be looking for some support from the general fund to the tune of almost $240,000, again, to cover the overhead. We didn't include capital items in here. Those we would handle through the normal budget process as a budget request. This was just hands-on with those.
Mr. Chairman. Sure. Supervisor Lyons.
Josh, how much are you currently recycling?
So right now, all the white goods get recycled. So the hard part about that one is what we get paid varies. So we did this. We did a 5-year average, and it varies between about $25 a ton up to $100 a ton that we get back. We recycle aluminum and mixed metals. The prices on that aren't real high right now, but we do recycle cardboard. We took kind of a hiatus during COVID because we wanted to get people in and out of the facility and didn't want them to have to make multiple stops and trying to reduce their contact. We recycle our e-waste. We recycle batteries. And our rock and concrete pile, it's been building up over about 10 years out there. So we're working with DPE right now to have them come in and crush that, and they would recycle that for road-based material.
Is it economical for us to crush?
So without investing in a big crusher that could handle rebar and things like that and separate it, those get pretty pricey. I mean, you're into the 7 figures there to do that. I think it's more advantageous to partner with somebody like DPE who could then,
Do they charge us to do that?
They would not charge us to do that. No.
We give them the product in exchange?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Our alternative is to haul it. The water users will accept some of it to line their canals and drains. However, getting it to them or to those canals is an expensive proposition.
So, but with DPE, there would be no expense. We wouldn't have to haul it. They'd come pick it up and.
Do they process it on site?
Yeah, that's what we're talking to them about now. So we have a contract with them to produce gravel for our cold mix asphalt. So they're in our pit there, just north of the transfer site now. So it would be them moving in a crusher that could handle that material.
I would say that is at best a temporary solution for a problem that may eventually become larger than that, and to depend on a private sector person to do that or company to do that, well, it's not bad. It's a good deal right now. Just how long that deal is going to be good for him and us, or for the company and us, is going to be debatable. But what isn't debatable is that we're running a deficit, a high deficit, and I'm not sure how do we determine what kind of impact it's having on desert dumping or like that, but it has to have an impact, obviously. I just don't know what impact it would be if you had to pay something to do it, knowing that some people just don't want to pay anything for it, especially if you got them used to it for a long time. But I think it's irresponsible of us not to take a look at this situation and understand that this is not a road we want to go or keep going to. I mean, every year we keep looking at this increase, and I mean, it's just the county. It's getting bigger. There's more people out there. It's a normal process. It's just that when you start with zero, it's difficult to get going.
Yeah.
It's a mental jump.
Correct, and that's kind of I think, going to be the challenge in instituting any type of fee. But what I can do on this spreadsheet is, we can change these fee numbers if you like and see what the impact is.
Well, we need to start somewhere, and we need to start relatively soon.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Josh, do we see much commercial green waste?
That's what I was thinking too.
So, excuse me.
Can we differentiate?
It's tough. So it's the small landscapers that the residential type service, they come in.
Put the chart in there so that you can see actually that only 12% altogether, green and commercial and stuff. It's 88% human, regular waste.
Yeah.
So when you talk about solving a 12% slice of a big pie, you're not really doing much. I mean, you're doing something, and yes, if you can start determining which one is commercial, which one is not. But what we're looking at is 90% of it. It's just regular waste. So if we put a $5 fee or something, it starts off being small enough so that people, and we would have to, put a flyer out saying, beginning such and such a date, we would have to do this. And I think people, we need to make people understand these things just can't continue to be. I mean, people expect some things from their government, and I understand that. That's okay. I mean, that's fine. You always get the same claim. I pay my taxes. What do I get from government other than taxes? So, we do try to provide those services as much as we can. But it's getting large. The operation is getting large. The employees are getting more and more employees are involved in it. It gets more and more complicated. And as it gets more complicated, it's going to get costly. We don't want to wait until we definitely have to set a fee that cover everything. Because if we do that, then it's going to be shock. It's going to be sticker shock.
And so this slide here shows, this is just a real simple calculation on what our costs are in solid waste and what it would take a flat fee to get totally out of the general fund to be an enterprise fund or self-sustaining. And you're looking at a $15 fee, and I know going from 0 to 15 is
too hard.
not realistic. And that would just be again, that's a simple calculation, blanket across the board for all waste streams.
No.
Break it down.
Josh, my other question had to do with starting to handle money at the site. Because it's also, it's just not that simple. You just don't, put someone up there and start getting cash. I mean, there's got to be a process. Is that going to cost you anything substantial? Is there any substantial cost to that, getting ready?
There would be. So we've got policies and procedures and things we'd have to put into place, and then the infrastructure associated with it. Ideally, we'd be cashless, a debit card and credit card system would be preferred, yeah. And so there is a fee with getting started with that. Even if we did have cash handling, we're talking about cash registers and security measures that need to be put in place, because if we had 400 or 500 customers in a day, we don't want that much cash just sitting there.
You'd be so lucky. Well, anyway, look, my inclination would be to take a look at this fee structure that you put up in front of us, because I think it comes from someone else. It's not like we pick a number out of the air. We can point to some study that's been done on the matter. I mean, it's just a matter of the rest of the supervisors, the rest of the board, basically stating what they're willing to do. What does the rest of the board want to do, if you want to do anything?
So, Mr.
$5 flat fee.
For everything, 5 and 5, green waste and rock, and just not white goods, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do 5 on the white goods, because
So it would be 5, 5, 5, and 1. Right?
What does it look like to your fees, Mr. Chairman, what does it look like to your fees if you cancel out actually dipping into the general fund?
Well, we are dipping into the general fund
Well, I know,
every
but
time.
with what he's projected right there,
Yeah,
with the adjustments,
Well, it
still
still
shows a deficit.
yeah, it
of
still shows
237,000.
237,000.
Do you have a projection of what it would be for each one of those fees if we did not?
So we didn't go into that level of detail on it. I certainly in.
You have that graph where you show if we charge what we should charge, it would be $15 across the board.
Yeah, we didn't break it
And
down
we
by
just
waste stream.
broken down.
Right, so let me just go at this in stages.
I thought so too.
Stages. First of all, are we, are we, are we, first of all, is the board committed to charging something?
Yes.
Okay, is that it? I mean, I do get that, we gotta start with
I
something.
am, but I'm not.
I know you would be the one.
It concerns me the fact that we've already got a horrendous dumping problem in the desert
Yeah.
and the
your
outlying
district.
areas of the counties. And I think if we do this, it's just gonna add to that ongoing problem of people not wanting to pay even $1 and dumping their waste out in the middle of the desert. I mean, you look at Hanks Highway behind Mesa del Sol, that's a dumping area for concrete, palm tree leaves, anything people don't want to drive all the way to North Gila Valley to dump. And I think we're going to see it even more if they're going to look at it like, well, they're going to charge me. I'll just go out at 12 o'clock at night and shove everything out of my back of my truck or trailer in the middle of the desert and let somebody else deal with it. I mean, we see it, I see it all over the foothills area and East County, and I just think we're going to add to the problem.
Yeah, well, I think that's how we started. We started with, trying to avoid getting all this dumping out in the desert. I am not sure that the deterrent, that, just simply getting it done for free, it solved the problem of us. I mean, us thinking we're doing something. I'm not sure it solved the problem of people dumping in the desert, but it certainly, I feel, had some impact. The problem is, as we sit here right now, what we're doing is, sort of in a certain way, what we're doing is basically subsidizing service for people that don't want to do, the right thing. But, we end up, and before, I think it was kind of like, okay, well, if we avoid having that problem, it's worth it. But now we're getting into really heavy, now we're getting into deficits. We used to be able to cover it, but now we're getting into deficits. And I think this is sort of a halfway solution. This isn't a solution that is going to, $15 a load would be a solution, and it would certainly drive people to do that at night. I'm not sure whether $5 won't have that impact, but I'm willing to try and see how it works. I mean, we probably need to put it together with some sort of a law enforcement side of things, where we say, look, if you do this, you will be fine, and, we will make it heavy so that you understand, look, I mean, I don't know if we can make it heavy. I sounded really bad there, but, we will have to put it together with some sort of enforcement action that says, look, it's $5 if you just do it. It's $50 if you get caught dumping it, or $100 if you get dumping it in the desert, or more. It's
not necessarily a law enforcement buy-in, but a public buy-in. Because law enforcement can't be everywhere. And there's a lot of times people see people driving out in the desert to go, and they know what they're doing. They know they're going out there to dump whatever they've got in the back of their truck or their trailer. It doesn't take, it's not rocket scientists to realize what people are doing out there. And getting the public to step up and call and report those people is something we need to push too. To try and figure out the answer to this, to where, okay, yeah, we understand we're going to have to start charging, and it's not because we want to, it's just
because we have to.
Nature. It's, to be able to afford it. But on the other hand, too, we've got to make them realize that this is a small fee they're paying. And like Tony was saying, the fee for getting caught dumping out in the desert is going to be
$250,
extremely
not $50.
more to kind of combat that.
I think, Mr. Simmons, I get it. I gather what you're saying is, look, if we do something like this, we have to couple it with an educational process where we try to get people educated to the fact that this is the best option you have, regardless of whether, it's a little more expensive, if you want to call it, but it is still the best option you got. The other option is your neighbor's going to turn you in for turning this stuff. I mean, I don't say it that way, but we're going to work on making sure that people understand that if it's being dumped in your backyard, in the neighbor's backyard, it's only a matter of time before it's dumped in your backyard. And we are going to need to, couple it together with something, if we go ahead and do this. Because I see some reluctance, I just don't see, a concerted I think most of us understand that this is not a road we want to continue going on for a long time, because it's going to get just going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. It's going to get bigger. The problem is, the deficit is, and the decision will get tougher and tougher.
Chairman, members of the board, it's I think Supervisor Simmons' point about educating the public or getting their buy-in is something we need to do as part of implementing a fee structure if we do that. So the county does have an illegal dumping hotline that goes to DDS, and their environmental folks will investigate. Similarly, the sheriff's office, if they get a call, a deputy will investigate. I don't know how often they find trash with somebody's name on it that they can go then track somebody down. When you're talking about green waste or appliances, things like that, it can be challenging to try and catch somebody. But what we would do is work with both DDS and the sheriff's office to monitor and see if there is an upward trend and report that back to you.
Would that be okay? If we keep an eye on it?
We work with the public because we have so many people that are off-road in this county, and they're out there all over the desert and everywhere. Like I said, we can get that. That's a set of eyes that we could really utilize if they see something, Like I said, it's not hard to figure out when somebody's driving down into the range and they've got a truckload of palm tree leaves, what they're going to be doing. And you get a lot of people.
And it isn't just in the desert. If you just drive out of San Luis, Arizona, in the middle of town, I mean, you'll find dump cars, you'll find, mattresses, you'll find stuff. I mean, it isn't just out in the desert. As long as people can be seen, it's a problem. So, I think that what this issue that you brought us forth, it's more the cost of, actually doing this. The other issue is just how costly it is for the environment when we just simply say, okay, well, we have been providing this service for free for years, if I can remember correctly. Whatever impact we were having in the environment, it's already there. And if people are still doing this, I don't think they're going to change if it's a $5 or a $0. I think that they're just doing that because that gets natural to them.
The people who are going to turn it in are going to turn it in at $0 and $5.
Maybe there will be some people who will avoid it, but I'm not sure they're going to be enough to offset the fact that there's people out there willing to do this, to pay the fee and be able to dump. I mean, it's just a convenience that I don't think you'll find anywhere else that is this convenient and this reasonable. And I think $5, $6 is reasonable fee for that, and $5 for the green waste in case somebody's thinking, well, maybe that should be $9, and the other one, rock, will be $5, and the other one, $1. I'd say that as long as if you keep it steady, it's probably better.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would like to just see a $7 flat fee for everything, but do a spring and a fall 2-week free that people want to go dump. I mean that's well. I mean,
I get it. It's okay. It's just I hope you don't get overwhelmed because people will save the garbage.
But that beats from them throwing it on
indefinitely
on the
definitely
desert
for free.
And no matter if it's free, right now it's free, and we see
You still see jumps.
You still see jumps. It just it's going to take a lot of education and just hopefully we get the public to turn in the people that are doing the illegal dumping, because once it hits the paper or for people getting caught, and then believe me, people will drive and it's basically the drive. It's not people that don't want to pay the $7 or $5. It's not that. It's that they're lazy to drive all the way over there and just see an area that it's open and say, oh, I'm just going to dump it here.
Okay, so the two suggestions I have that I hear is 5 and 7. 5 was the first initial trust because it was kind of sounded right, $5 or something. 7 would be everything, but the appliance, the white goods appliance, I don't think that is going to work at $7. Would it?
Well, it's going to cover if we have a 50 deficit surplus. It'll cover the whites.
Mhm.
So the white goods are, again, a small slice of that pie, like you mentioned, and we do get money back for
Well, let me-
those, so that helps offset.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what's going to be out there. A lot of white goods are gonna be out in the desert. That's that's the main item, to me, that stands out when you go and look at their old washing machines, old, dryers, old stuff, old, stoves and refrigerators. That is probably, to me, the most visible large thing that gets dumped out in the desert. I think the desert can eat up almost anything given the proper time, but it won't eat up refrigerators and washing machines and stuff like that. It's almost, they're gonna be there forever.
And
So to
that-
me, that's fine. Whatever you guys decide, it's fine. I just want to caution you on that white goods because it is something that stands out. I mean, household waste is household waste, right?
What we've tried to do with the white goods, so I don't know why they end up in the desert, because any recycler in town will give you money for it.
Yes,
You know,
that's
so we've tried to divert some of that by educating our customers that rather than driving all the way out to North Gila, stop by SA Recycling on 32nd Street or Yuma Recyclers down off of Factor Avenue, and you might get $5 or $10 for this versus hauling it to us. 'Cause if you bring it to us, we've got to load it in a truck and take it all the way back into town, and that's
Right, okay, we gotta make a decision. Okay, so the first decision was whether we wanted to go down the road of setting up a fee.
Yes.
So now we're down, down to two fees. One is a $5 fee, which I heard, I don't know, nobody's made a motion yet, but one was a $5 fee for everything but the whites, and the other one was a $7 fee for everything, including the whites. What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, before we get into setting an actual fee,
We have
we
to have
need
a
to,
hearing?
yes, we'll need a public hearing. So at this point, we're getting direction on what the board would like to see as far as a fee structure.
So we have to set a fee, we set a date for a hearing to set a fee. Is that correct, Mr. King? Okay, all right, so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury here, we're going to have to postpone this decision until we get in front of us so that we can make it.
Well, no, what you could do is provide direction on what
No,
kind
we
of
did.
fee, what fee you
Just
want,
did.
the fee you want.
Oh, look.
And then he'll go through the process of the advertising to establish the public hearing,
Let
because there's
me-
an
let
advertising
me-
requirement as well.
Let me tell you, short of telling you what to do, we're pretty much leaving you with two options that I can think of right now, unless somebody else comes with another one. $7 flat fee for everything, is that correct, Superintendent? The other one is a $5 fee. Do you include the white goods in it?
Yes.
It's direction, we're not setting any fees at this particular time, so it's 5 and 7. Bring them back to us on a hearing where we consider two fees, 5 for anything and everything, and 7 for anything and everything. Is that more or less direction?
And a 2-week freebie in the spring and the fall.
No, we don't call it freebie, we call it a spring cleaning type situation.
Mr. Chairman, question for Josh. Are we differentiating between any commercial entities?
So that gets tough. So unless they come in with a name on the side of their truck or a bunch of tools hanging off their trailer, which, makes it obvious, it's very difficult. So what we find ourselves in a situation where we end up arguing with a customer, and that's not what we want. So we do turn away loads on a fairly regular basis, again, when it's obvious, but short of, asking
Hey,
somebody
we-
to produce a water bill or something like that, it gets tough.
I don't want to pressure people to move on, but we've got people standing up and going. We have meetings in the morning when people are supposed to be someplace else. So I was trying to get that TerraSand situation gone through so that we can get people moved out here as soon as possible. So Josh, you do have direction. We can't give you a motion, so bring it back to us as soon as you can schedule it within the framework of meeting all the statutes.
Get with Kevin or whoever and let's start getting it out to the people too.
All right.
To get their input.
Okay.
A couple other things we're working on. Ian and I are working on a neighborhood cleanup program where
Good.
we could go into the neighborhoods.
Thank you.
We don't have budget for a full-blown one like the city does. So we have that, the potential of a 2-week kind of, break on
Spring clean?
fees and spring cleaning type options.
I recommend you use the probation department. We did in the past. It's just that with COVID, it's been very difficult to send people anywhere.
Yeah, so we've done cleanups for Supervisor Simmons and Supervisor
Martin,
Porges.
and I have some.
I haven't done it yet, but I
We
have.
regularly utilize adult probation. They're a big part of the labor.
Thank you for all your help on those two.
What else? That's it? All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation, appreciate it. I heard that the representatives of the developers they're here? Okay, bring them in, and I know that there's not enough space for everybody to be here, especially because we do have social distancing. So people from Sierra Sands that are outside, bring in the applicants, because we'll need to talk to them or see them for a few minutes. And hopefully you all out there can hear us and hear what we're gonna talk about. Because it's kind of a moving target. So I'm going to close this item and move on to the actual Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm gonna open up the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And the first item on the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda item is Development Services, and it's the Planning and Zoning Division Commission, rezoning case number 2101, Adrian Vega, agent for Sunderman Investments LLC, requests the rezoning of two parcels totaling 10 acres in size from rural acre 10-acre minimum to suburban site build 2-acre minimum on assessors parcels number 748-36-018 and 748-36-019, located in the vicinity of Sierra Sands Avenue and County 15th Street in Yuma, Arizona. There will be a PowerPoint presentation, and we will have discussion in a public hearing. So if you just give us a little bit of time, we'll go through this process as quickly as possible. Okay, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting rezoning case 2101. The intent of this request is to create 5 parcels of approximately 2.0 gross acres in size.
Can you speak up, please?
I was going to tell him that. I think, we do have mics, it's just that it isn't picking up. You do have to raise your voice a little bit.
Okay, sir. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, sorry. This is the zoning and vicinity map showing the subject parcels 18 and 19, cross-hatching highlighted. They're zoned rural area 10-acre minimum. Their access have access on the east via Avenue 5E and from Sierra Sands Avenue through a private easement. Parcels on the north and west are suburban site build 1 acre minimum, part of the Sierra Sands subdivision, all improved with site build dwellings. Parcels 16 and 17 are properties zoned rural area 10-acre minimum. Parcel 16 is improved with a pro shop building that is no longer in use. And it was the clubhouse for the former golf course. And parcel number 1 on the east is within the city of Yuma, also within the Berry Emerald Water Range. This is the site plan provided by the applicant, outlined in red. That's how it's proposed to split the 2 5-acre parcels into 5 2.0 gross acres. Highlighted in yellow is the proposed private access easement. This is another view from 2017, showing the character of the area back then. Not a lot has changed. These are looking south at Sierra Sands Avenue from County 15th Street. Only half width is improved. This is looking east at the gravel access road just south of parcel 16 that leads to parcels 19 and 18. This is looking north at the access easement from between parcels 16 and 17, looking north. This is a looking north at subject parcels from the south. Now looking northwest at the subject parcel 19 from the southeast corner of parcel 19. Now looking at parcel 18 northeast from the southwest corner. This is several structures on the area. The well and electrical pedestal and the pipe and the dry pond are on parcel 18. Staff received a signed petition with 78 signatures in opposition. Also received us to this morning 15 letters in opposition. 2 letters in favor of the request. From the new signed petition, 14 property owners within the zoning notification area in opposition, and 1 property owner in favor of this rezoning within the zoning area. The opposition received amounts to 77.7% by number and 46.3% by area, triggering majority vote. required for approval. This is in red are the properties in opposition. Cross hatches are the subject parcel. This was the amount of opposition back in March when it was taken to the Planning Commission. And this is the new updated amount of properties in opposition.
Back up a little bit. What's that green area?
Those are in favor.
Oh, that's Mr. Beluca?
One of them.
Oh, the green one?
The green one.
Okay.
The Planning Commission recommends denial of rezoning case number 21-01. If approved by the Board of Supervisors, staff recommend the following performance condition. 1, within 60 days of approval by the board, the owner or agent shall do the following: provide an RS 12-1134 waiver, record an infrastructure disclosure statement, record a navigation disclosure statement, also record a range disclosure statement, and record a schedule for development disclosure statement, and the following schedule for development. Within 1 year of the board's approval, the owner shall apply for and obtain a grading permit from the Department of Development Services to improve the ingress-egress easement as an access-built road in dust-free condition by application of aggregate-based course covered by penetration and chip seal, referred as attachment standard number B. Number 2, within 1 year of the board's approval, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming that ingress-egress easement referred to in item 1 of the schedule for development was constructed according to standard B. Number 3, within 1 year of board's approval, the developer shall construct the west half 20-foot wide of Sierra Sands Avenue from County 15th Street to the access road of this development. The developer owner shall submit the improvement plan to the engineering department of review and approval. Number 4, within 1 year of board's approval, the owner shall split the property by means of a land division permit. Number 5, within 1 year of board's approval, as part of item number 1, the owner shall record an ingress-egress easement 20 feet in width minimum. Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff's presentations. Ready for
All right,
clarifications.
this is staff presentation. Are there any questions from the board to staff? Now, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial, and this is a supermajority item because of the numbers of opposition, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I know there's a lot of people here from Sierra Sands, and, we obviously have, discussed and met with some of you. I personally have discussed and met with some of you. And I want to tell you, we're going to let the applicant, put his presentation up or answer some questions. If the board doesn't have any questions from Mr. Barraza, then we'll have the representative of the applicant here. I think I see someone back there. Can you step forward, please? Whomever is going to represent the board, I need to ask you a couple of questions, and then you guys can make a decision on whether to proceed or not. Right. Are there any questions that you want to make? I'll make a few questions. No? First of all, Dahl, Mr. Dahl, right, Kevin?
Kevin Dahl with Dahl Robbins and Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue.
I know most people know this, but most of the cases that get to the Planning and Zoning Commission have a difficult time when they don't have the neighborhood behind them. And I think you're familiar with that. You've done plenty of applications in front of the Board of Supervisors. This situation, from my background or the knowledge that I've been given about it, is a situation where there used to be, or there was supposed to be, a golf course, and that's in those 80, is it 80 or 40 acres? 40 acres. There are 3 different owners to those 40 acres, correct?
There are 4 different owners.
4 different owners with Mr. Beluca. I keep trying to remember his last name. Is that his last name, Beluca? Oh, there he is. I'm sorry. You mask it. But there are, yeah. I consider him an owner. And the situation to me, it's going to be simple. You're going to get to it, and you're going to do your presentation. But I can tell you right now that, having the neighborhood up in arms about this situation makes it a very extremely difficult to resolve. But having someone like Mr. Beluca in the middle of nowhere with no options to develop his property is also a very difficult thing. We've told Mr. Beluca we would help him out, try to get use of that property he bought from someone who didn't particularly told him all the stuff he needed to do to make his property valuable. So having said that, I'm going to open it up, and you can do your presentation.
Good morning, members. So we've had some careful consideration over the past few days, and in consideration of the neighbors' opposition, we would like to postpone this hearing and give us an opportunity to meet with the neighbors, to answer any questions they may have, to go over the complete 40-acre development. The case in front of you is the highlighted shaded north area. However, there are zonings been submitted to the commission or to the staff. So we think it'd be beneficial to meet with the neighbors and answer any questions they may have, show them the intention of this entire development. We're not involved in the entire development, but we're involved in enough of it to understand what's going on. So with that, we'd just like to postpone, schedule a meeting. I'll contact staff and schedule a meeting with the neighbors so we can have a discussion about walking through the issues they have, answer any questions they have, and hopefully come to a conclusion where we can all coexist.
We're obviously, if you want to postpone it, we're not taking a vote. But I can tell you ahead of time, from me, that proposal there needs to again have the neighbors work on it. It needs to come together as one. Because I am not going to accept, it coming in little slices. In one, you approve one, and the other one, and the other one. If improvements are going to be made in there that improve the neighborhood should be involved in some of those decisions. And I think you've done that. And I think just the fact that you recognize what's coming or what's in front of us, it's a sign to me that there's some willingness to work with the neighbors to see if you can solve this problem. I do want to say something straight out to the neighbors. We met. I met with you. I recognize all the issues that there is. I recognize you've been made promises in the past and that this isn't turning out just the way you wanted it. There are people like Mr. Beluca that actually got in that situation and really he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I understand what the neighborhood wants. There are some 3 or 4. I don't know how many owners in there. But as a supervisor representing that district, I'll tell you right away, unless something comes up that the neighborhood can buy into, it's going to be difficult for me to vote for it. And I don't know about the rest of the board, but normally that carries a certain amount of weight. So please do the best you can to come up with something that works for you. Kevin, I think you know that's going to be a tough situation, but I guess that's what they pay you the big bucks, I used to say. You need to work it out. If you can't work it out, then you probably won't come to us. But if it comes to us, you know what my position is going to be. So please go out and try to do something that works, that allows people who have invested in the property over there to be able to get some sort of revenue out of that. You're all in this situation because someone just abused the situation. Someone did something that wasn't right. I don't think it's the new owner's fault, and I don't think it's the neighborhood's fault for sure. So, I just wanted to make that point before you go on. You're asking for this item to be postponed or tabled. I would say that what you need to do is bring it in as something else, something like a planned development that involves all the properties, something that the neighbors can see so they don't have any surprises coming up in the future about what's going to happen with that. I think that all of you neighbors need to realize it's a 40-acre parcel. I know it's where you look at and you see, but it was designed to be something else. It's bought by somebody else. I think all of you, at least the ones I met with, are pretty adamant about your property rights and what you were promised and what you assumed when you came to live there. I think that needs to be respected, but you also need to take a look at Mr. Baruch and other people who also got caught in a situation. So please try to do the best you can so when you come to us, we can make a decision that can benefit first and foremost the neighborhood, and if it's possible, the owners that bought that property. I know there's a lot of angles to this. I know there's a lot of things that can be said. I don't think it necessarily requires to be said. I think most of us are aware of what's going on in that particular area. So please try to work it out. I know it sounds a little, like maybe kambalaya or some whatever, but we do expect some of these situations to be difficult. I just want to let you know, Kevin, that it's very difficult for me to support anything that the neighborhood just isn't behind. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, we'll do our very best to hopefully come into consensus with the neighbors. And again, it's not our intention to create any animosity. That's not our intention. Never was. So we will try to do our best to come to a consensus with the neighbors, be a good neighbor, and thank you so much for your time.
Hold it right there. Supervisor Franklin.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Dahl, I could see, I know that the homeowners were promised 5-acre parcels in 2005 because I've gotten the minutes of the 96 and the 2005. But there's nothing in writing. Oh, there's nothing in writing that I could find. But if if we went to 2.5 acre with single-story houses with no arenas and 2,000 square foot homes or better, it would lower the number of people to 15 because this gentleman wants his 5 acres to stay 5 acres. That would lower the density and it would lower a lot of problems that could occur because of wells and because of traffic. And so just kind of try to work around some of this and maybe come to some sort of an agreement that, you know, would lower the density and some of the concerns of the people who live out there, but at the same time would allow the people who own those properties to be able to develop them.
All right, I think that the message is, to me, it's definitely clear. The neighborhood, to me, stands first. They need to be taken care of. Some arrangement needs to be made that they can live with. And again, I will just be repeating myself if I went through this again. I think, Kevin, you know where we stand. Anybody else?
Yes, I would, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I've had a number of phone calls, including family members who are opposed to this. Private property rights are probably the most important thing to me, but this goes two ways right here with private property rights. I live in a neighborhood where if the neighbors wanted to preserve their view or not have a neighbor, they actually purchased the property next to it to preserve that and maintain the integrity of what they had purchased. And I floated that to several people who called me. I believe that the private property rights are preeminent. People who buy something with the intention of being able to develop it and having that commitment made to them is imperative. Don't necessarily agree with all of the perspectives, but I understand that you're in a difficult position. The neighbors were promised something previously, but I just ultimately think that if people want to preserve it, they ought to buy the property surrounding it and establish their views.
And this is next to the Goldwater Range. So, I mean, it's like every time I hear open space inside a small city like San Luis, I keep thinking, all you have to do is walk, 3-5 steps and you're in open space. But, this is a call for people to sort of get together and work something out. I mean, I don't think that there's going to be an easy solution. I think it's going to be a little difficult, especially for the landowners that purchase thinking, or the new owners that purchase thinking, well, I'm going to be able to do this. But there is an inherent concern when you have 4 or 5 different landowners who do less than 5 lots and don't do a subdivision. To me, that always brings in, okay, I'm not particularly one of those guys that thinks there's a conspiracy and everything, but just to avoid the appearance of something being abused, a system being abused, I would recommend again that you get together, the owners. I'm talking about the owners. Get together and work out on a development plan or a planned development that fits the mold of what these neighbors want to see in their neighborhood. Okay, so I think we're going to go over and over again on this thing. Is there anything you want to say, Mr. Simmons? No? Anything you want to say, Mr.
Yeah, just a comment or maybe a question for Susan and the staff. Could staff, or maybe to the neighbors, all the questions that you guys have can be presented or given to the staff on the process? Sometimes, why was it scored? A certain, given those points. I think they need to know why. What the county uses, what's the process for that? Why is it, if it's a 2-acre lot, but now it's a 1.8 or 1.7? Why is it that, or why are we permitting that, or why do we, So if those questions can be answered for the neighbors there, then that way, if it helps or if it doesn't, but I would like to see that.
I have one more question. This one is for Maggie, though. Maggie, can you tell me if for some reason nothing can come to a decision and there's parcels out there, now it's zoned 10-acre parcels, right? Because it was, in 2005, it was done 5-acre. We denied the extension, so now it's at 10-acre parcels, correct? So you could only build on 10 acres, correct? Am I right? That's what it is right now.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pancracy, Yes, the current zoning of the 8 parcels is rural area 10-acre minimum.
Okay, so if for some reason, what can you put on an RA 10?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pancrazy, the RA10 district allows a number of uses. I can bring them up on my cell phone, bring up the zoning ordinance. You can have agricultural type uses. You can have, and these are some examples, you can have the storage of farm equipment. You can have farm labor housing by right. You can have, you can grow crops. You can raise large farm animals on
10
property
acres.
zoned rural area 10-acre minimum. Yes. And those are just a few examples of what the zoning district allows.
Now, the owners who have that right now, do they own 10 acres congruent to each other? I mean, are some of them with 10 acres like Mr.
Luca.
19 and 18, where they're next to each other? Are any of the others next to each other where they could be 10 acres as well?
Mr. Chairman, there are 3 other property owners that own 10 contiguous acres.
10 contiguous acres.
Yes.
That's what, okay, so those, yeah.
The supervisor, is your point that, if nothing is done with that land, those landowners have the right to do anything that within the agricultural requirements will be allowed in a 10-acre parcel, which means a packing plant or horses or cows or whatever. So is that what you're
That's
getting
my
at?
concern, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, that is the essence of the question that was posed. However, and I'm going to go one step further, is Arizona state law allows an agricultural exemption or exempts parcels that are 5 acres in size if they are being used for general agricultural purposes. So there are 8 parcels there. For example, parcel 36 can say, you know what, I'm going to establish a pig farm on that property. They don't have to have 10 acres to establish a use that is exempt by state law.
I'm not sure this conversation is adding or diminishing the
I'm just-
ability
I was
to work
concerned.
out a deal, because it starts to
I
sound
know,
like,
I'm just-
okay, well,
but
if you
I-
don't do this, you expose yourself to that.
Well, I
Let's
think-
not
I
get
think
there.
it's good information,
I
Mr.
wasn't
Chairman.
aware.
It's information they need to make available to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they need to make sure that
But
when
the
they meet, they don't.
supervisors need to know too. I agree with.
I wasn't aware of that until I started doing the research on this. So, and that's when I discovered it. I mean, so that's my concern.
Right.
It
So,
is a
so
concern.
again, hopefully, this will be an opening to work something out that is going to make sure the neighborhood, is looked after, and that the property owners have the rights protected, which is, I think, what I heard here.
Mhm.
And there are, countless ways the situation can go better, and countless ways can go worse. Our idea is probably that there should be something in there that can be worked out that allows us to protect the neighborhood and
Mhm.
the property owners as they bought. And I do understand all the complexities of why you bought and what you want to do. I do understand that. But I do want to say something before we leave the subject. The staff works on a numerical system. They're not, I've seen them come in front of us and say we recommend approval, even though they really like denial. But the numbers wouldn't let them do that. So staff it's tasked with coming up with a numerical system. And all the nuances about the numerical system really don't come to play much with staff. That comes to play with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission has a lot more flexibility. Staff needs to rate something down by the number. If it fits, it's got this many points. If it fits, it's got this many points. So I do understand every once in a while you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And this may be one of those. But again, I think the willingness of the property owners to sit back, to lean back and say, look, we're going to take this up. We're going to take into account what the neighbors want to do this. And let's see if we can come up with a compromise that works for both of us. It's the best we can expect under this situation, because we could have the worst situation happen or the best situation happen. If we get somewhere in the middle where we find some compromise that works, that would be the best outcome that we could expect. And again, Kevin, I don't know about the other property owners, but when you come back, I hope that you come back with a plan for the whole 40 acres that fits this situation. Otherwise, if we piecemeal this, every time it comes back, we're gonna get the neighbors upset, we're gonna have them come back. And I think they went out there to enjoy a peaceful lifestyle, and this is not really helping. So, okay?
Mr. Chairman, just keep in mind that Mr. Dahl represents two property owners, I believe, out there. There are other property owners involved, and all property owners would have to buy in to proceed with a planned development. If one of the other property owners does not, then the planned development would not work.
I got it. It's a delicate situation, okay? But it's probably the best option available to them right now, okay? Anything else? Look, I know if someone, one from the neighborhood wants to address the board, I can do that. I mean, it's obviously set up as a public hearing, but I don't think the board needs to hear and rehear. We're pretty familiar with the situation as it is right now. Kevin, you want to say something before?
Chairman, if I may.
Got to open the public hearing.
Yep, so we've got all the neighbors here, or a majority of them here. Can we set a date? Can staff set a date for a meeting? Preferably next couple weeks, if possible?
I think that's more like, the neighbors are probably gonna have to name a group, 4 or 5, because you're good at communicating with each other, as I can tell. So you probably need to set up a date where they will all come in and meet and start that process. I'm not sure whether staff has that capacity to organize it, but I guess you could. I mean, we do normally in rezonings. Do we have neighborhood meetings on some of the rezoning cases?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff looked at the availability of the Aldrich Hall over at the Department of Development Services, and we could facilitate a meeting on May 13th if that works for the property owners that have concerns with this development. If it doesn't, then we can accommodate a meeting on another date.
Why don't we leave that flexible so that, you guys do a survey? I mean, obviously, Mr. Dahl's clients would like to get this issue in front of, whomever as soon as possible. The neighborhood also doesn't want to live with the thought that, somebody's doing something behind or somebody's trying to get something over them. So the sooner, we get together or you get together, the better off it'll be. We need to start some constructive dialogue here that gets us someplace, okay?
Mr. Chairman, if you want, you can pull the current property owners that are here in opposition and see if May 13th works. If not, then we'll start working with a different date.
How's May 13th sound? Let me open the public hearing, because otherwise I'm gonna have to open it after I listen to everybody. Kevin, unless you have something else to say, is there someone from the neighborhood that wants to step up? Yeah, Lise.
Chairman Reyes, I believe it's too early at this point to have enough input from the neighbors as to when they could meet. I'm sure many of them will be more than happy to do this. It's just with work schedules and so on, some of them could not be here. So now is not the best time to try to determine the meeting date.
Just let me clear one thing up. You're talking about an afternoon meeting? Because, one of the biggest complaints about our meetings is that they take place during the day, during business hours. This is by statute, mind you. I try to explain to people, this is set by statute. We meet here because the state statutes say this is the time you meet, this is the hour you meet. But that doesn't mean that you all can't plan it for the afternoon when everybody's out of work. If you're working, you're out of work. So please just, Maggie, at least if you stay in contact, and just clear that out. I'm sure that there's some flexibility out there to get this thing going, okay? So
we would not try to hold up the meeting so 100% of the people can be there, you understand, but we need to touch base with the majority of the residents and find out what works best.
I think we realize that. I mean, even us, we don't have any way of making sure that 100% of us are gonna be in all the time. So we understand that, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Maggie?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so if there's a spokesperson for the residents out there, for those that are in opposition or those that would like a neighborhood meeting, have them contact Javier to see what date works for them as far as having a meeting. The meeting can take place in the evening, 5 or 6 p.m., And like I said, it'll be facilitated over at the Department of Development Services.
I do want to say something before we move on that fast. It will require, and I know Eric's got his hand, I think it's Eric, but you know, the fact is, this is going to be a coordinated effort. I mean, Kevin is going to have to, or whomever represents the owners, is going to have to get the other owners, including Mr. Balukas, so that you guys can be together deciding about what's going to happen to those parcels out there. So it's not going to be just getting the neighbors together for a meeting. It's going to be getting the neighbors together with the representative or the owners to start working towards something, okay, that everybody can buy into. Not, you know, because if one of the owners doesn't want it, doesn't like it, or for some reason don't want to participate, there goes your planned unit development. You know, there goes the development plan. So please, it's going to be careful when where you step, but please give it the best shot, okay? So if someone represents the neighborhood, contact Mr. Barraza, and Mr. Barraza will coordinate the effort to get you all together with whomever. Eric, and the hearing, I hereby open the public hearing, and I'm going to allow a couple of people to say something.
I really appreciate everybody that came out to see us, and I appreciated the telephone call with you very much. And sir, we really appreciate you and what you're going through and trying to maximize the use of your property. We are not opposed to what you'd like to do, which my understanding is, and I will address you, sir, but please understand that.
Yeah, well, okay.
We want him to be able to build.
But when you point into him, nobody can see him. So that's
Well,
why I said, you know, if you talk,
but
you
yes,
know,
sir.
it's like
I
know you know
this
Eric,
isn't,
but when you
this
do
isn't
that,
what I do. So
you could be outside in the other room. Right. All right.
But I guess we really would like to see folks at.
Could you tell your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Eric Powers, and I live at 15313 South Sierra Sands. We're interested in people moving into our neighborhood who want to preserve the integrity of our neighborhood. We don't want to see the character of our neighborhood diminished by an unofficial subdivision that circumvents your laws and statutes by creating developments of 5 at a time, like you indicated, like dominoes. So I think we'd all be amenable to a meeting. And ma'am, I would just be interested in the dates that these other, there are other proposals that are going to go to the zoning commission. And those are coming up, my understanding, here soon. And are those going to conflict with the dates that were the proposed date of this meeting? And I guess my other thought is, when did everybody know that there was going to be a proposal to delay this vote? Did anybody have advance notice of this? Is this part of a strategy that allows people to kind of take some political cover? I don't mean to be offensive, but these are things in my head that it just seems like this is going to be a process that's going to be drug out. And really, the real victim here isn't, I mean, our community will suffer. But this gentleman, who my understanding intends to build his forever home, he's being denied.
Well, Eric, he's being denied if nothing happens. I mean, actually,
Yes,
it gets worse. Eric, let me tell you, this postponement wasn't planned before. It just, because I was told.
You were not communicating.
Okay, so, you know, look, it's no secret that most of you already contact almost every board member. You know, it's no secret, right? So, you know, so most of them, if not all of them, already know exactly what the problem is over there. So when this idea of postponement, you know, came up, and I'm sure it came up only this weekend or something, because I wasn't aware of it until now. I'm sure that it's an idea that gives all of us pause a little bit, because as you can tell just from the discussion that the board had, some of us are leaning this way, some of us are thinking, okay, you know, property rights and all those things. That's why we struggle sometimes, because sometimes we have to sort of weight in a balance, you know, the pros and the cons of something. In this particular case, even if there's a slim chance the neighborhood and the owners can come to terms with what needs to be done in that, to make sure that everybody, you know, gets basically what they need. And in this particular case, I understand what the neighborhood wants and what they need. We have to let it happen. I mean, is a solution that I think at some point in time, we all should strive for, something that works for me, something that works for somebody else, right? And I think you come at it from that perspective. So we got to put aside, look, if one of the property owners, the other property owners, doesn't come to terms with what's going on, it probably will derail everything they're trying to do. Not everything you're trying to do, everything they're trying to do. So it behooves them to get together, to discuss it between them, and to come up with something that works for them. Because for you, you know, what works is nothing. And that doesn't work for Mr. Balucas, doesn't work for other people. But, I mean, we start from there. And then we hope to get someplace in there where you can see your concerns being addressed, and we can see their concerns being taken care of in some manner. Maybe not in the manner they liked it in the beginning, but in some manner.
Well, I certainly don't speak for the entire neighborhood, but I've spoken with a lot of people in the neighborhood, and I think I'm echoing the sentiment that we are amenable to compromise, but it has to be the right compromise. And we can't compromise if it means that the character of our neighborhood will be undermined. And then what you'll see is an exodus. It's not, I mean, there are going to be people who are going to move because some of us moved in there, we wanted it to be our forever home. And when the character of that neighborhood has changed to the point that we can't relax or we're going to lose value, then it's just, and I understand, sir, about property rights. I think we had that discussion, and I agree with you. People do have the right, within reason, to utilize and maximize their property. I think it becomes a problem, though, when you, and I guess that's why you're elected. You all have to, you know, use Solomon-like judgment, but to resolve this issue. But the issue really comes down to whose rights are more important. Those in an established neighborhood? Should we be considered, as the folks who were here first, or are we going to alter in favor of a few speculative investors, with the exception of this gentleman, who my understanding is really wants to live in our community? He's not trying to turn a buck. He wants to live there. We should be trying to figure out how we can help him build his home. That's what we should be trying to do. Not, in my estimation, what we're going to be able to do to pad the pockets of a few doctors or investors. And I'm not trying to lob grenades at anybody.
Yeah, look, I get it. I get it. Eric, look, those points, we all know. And as a matter of fact, this is the reason why we're standing here, or we're sitting here looking at this situation. Let's not, you know, look, I heard from other people, you should have bought the golf course. I mean, you didn't want to maintain it. You know, it's way too much, too complicated to be discussed in this particular way, because all it does, it puts us one or the other side. And I really didn't want that to be the beginning of this conversation between you all. The beginning of the conversation between you all that I like to see is I'd like to start with what you said a minute ago about you are not necessarily looking to do just what you want, what the neighbors want. You tend to accommodate, or you're going to try to accommodate. Accommodating that means that sometimes, you know, we're going to have to back up a little bit, and if it's greed, or if it's other things, or it's circumstantial, we all have to remember one thing. Neither these people nor you created this problem. And we, as we go back to it, it was created by somebody else, designed this situation and then left it. And so things happen. And I know where you're coming from, but I think that you made your point. And I think that if you keep doing that, it's just going to become adversarial. And it is already adversarial a little bit, but I think it's still solvable. I don't want to add more fuel to that fire at the start of this process, because it sort of gets.
I understand. But again, I think if I could say one last thing, it would be, we have to figure out how to help this gentleman build his home in our neighborhood. He wants to live there. And I mean, that's.
And we promised we would help him, actually. Well, you know, promise from politicians, but I mean, we said we're going to help him, you know, and we're going to try. Okay.
So I guess we'll see if we can, you know, have a nice, interesting dialogue and figure out how we can compromise. But I think you should be there too, sir, at this for sure. So.
He will be. All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. I apologize if I got a little wacky.
You know, I didn't put a timer on him, huh?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are 3 other cases that are moving forward. The other 3 cases will be heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission this month in May. and then they'll move forward to the Board of Supervisors the first meeting in July.
Well, I would recommend that they sort of slow it down a little bit and, get together, because if it comes on individual basis, you'll have the same thing happening. The neighborhood's gonna come out in arms, and we're gonna say, look, work something out. So if it was up to me, I'd save myself the effort and the trouble of doing this individually, and understand that the only way that it's going to go, at least from my perspective, is through a process of development that involves all the parcels and gets solutions that are going to be neighborhood accepted, kind of thing. Is anybody else that want to say something before we go? Yes, sir? I mean, this is a public hearing, and I know that it may not have turned out the way some of you all thought it would be, but, I still gotta give you the opportunity to say a few things.
Yeah, there was just a couple things that I wanted to mention. I was prepared to talk about the water and water table, all that, but we're not going there at all. But two things that I wanted to bring out. This commissioner here that said maybe we should have purchased the property. This 10 acres is directly behind my property. So the first building or whatever is gonna happen right behind me. Never seen any for sale signs, never seen any listings at realtors. This happened without the neighborhood knowing it was even up for sale. We would not even have had the opportunity, if we wanted to purchase it, okay? So I sort of got a little bit offended by that. Secondly, we don't even need to go there, if you want to discuss it.
But you went there, sir.
Huh?
But
Okay.
you went there.
Okay.
And so now you have the opportunity, if you would like, to enter into negotiations. That's what my neighbors did when they were aware that something was available for sale. And so I would just commend to you looking for a solution that maybe not everybody is happy with, but that compensates people according to the investments that they've made. That's fair and just.
Okay, I
Just
agree
like
with
my
that.
neighbors
I agree
have
with
done.
that.
Their view was critical to them, and so they were able to step up and purchase the adjacent properties to preserve the
Because there was-
integrity of their view.
Because this property, what I understand, this property, what I've been told since I moved there 10 years ago, that it was in negotiation, there was a lot of legal stuff going on, it couldn't be purchased without major problems. In fact, the corner that has the well on it, there was another neighbor out there that was trying to purchase that 5 acres, which would have been 18. And he said there was so much legal stuff going on, he was gonna build a home there. This was back 5 years ago. He says, I walked away from it, and I went over on the other side and bought a piece of property.
Sure.
So what I'm getting at is, you said to go purchase it, but as a homeowner there, it's already been purchased, and.
But you have the opportunity to visit with the owners now.
Oh, sure, fine, that's fine, and that's great.
Wait.
And that's great.
This is not supposed to get that way. This is not supposed to be like you tell me,
Yeah.
I tell you. It's
I didn't
calm
want
down a
to,
little
I didn't want to
bit.
part that, but I just want to say that it was not a for sale sign out there when we had the opportunity to purchase it. Now, the other thing is, and I think that wasn't mentioned, Eric didn't mention it, that pretty much the scenario, and I don't know if it needs to be mentioned here, but it sounds like we're going to have the meeting. The compromise that pretty much most of us have talked about was, we're fine with 5 acres. Rezone it for 5 acres. This gentleman here's got 5 acres. Have some nice homes built out there, and not be such a high concentrated on traffic and everything, and I think that's pretty much the scenario of all our neighbors. That's what we would like to see. They can still get some money out of their investment. They can still build maybe nicer homes, more expensive homes. That's been the scenario of our compromise that, I don't want to get in. There could be details on heights of houses and all that, but that maybe need to be worked out. But as far as the breaking the down 5 acre lots, we would all agree to.
Well, that's what the meeting's.
That's basically all I needed to say.
Well, thank you.
That I wanted to bring it up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Pardon?
Your name for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry. It's Larry Harvey.
Yeah, and you did have a paper here. Now, look, I'm going to let somebody else say something because you came for that, right? But as the motion is going to be to postpone it. So, you're going to have a chance to say everything you want to say to whomever it's on the other side that's supposed to make a decision yet before it gets to us. Again, I think, at least I think most of us made our point definitely clear that, the neighborhood needs to be involved in the decisions that are going to take place with all these parcels, okay? So it's just, if somebody else got something new to add to this, you're welcome to come. If not, I'm gonna cancel the public hearing or close the public hearing. Is there anybody else that wants to come? Sure. Come up here, yeah, and give us your name.
I'm Leanne Bird. I just have a question regarding the additional parcels, owners for them, that they have the proposals to the, is it the Planning and Zoning Board? Are we going to have to do this each and every time, or can those owners just like lay off and then get with Dahl and some of the other people so that we can come together as a community, as homeowners, to be able to come with the compromise before all of this, every 3 weeks we have to come to another meeting and oppose it again and again and again?
I think personally, because I can't, just decide that. But personally, I don't want to see any other case from Sierra Sands come before us before these issues are resolved, personally.
Okay, I was just wondering if it was up to the,
get this
the people that are
situation-
proposing to get their act together and come to us.
Like I said, personally, I mean, I don't, I think everybody gives me too much credit. I don't really do that way. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna tell the Planning and Zoning Commission, who have already scheduled the meetings and posted them out, not to have them. What I can tell them right now is that I don't want to see, hearings over hearings when we haven't resolved the first one yet. To have a second one and a third one and a fourth one doesn't seem to me like a pathway to get any resolution. And if we again force the issue up, I mean, it is a vote of the Board of Supervisors, and it would take four members to vote for it, because with all the opposition right now, that's what they're facing. And I don't know. I think they're being smart to back off. At least the ones that came today, they're being smart to back off and try to see if they can work something. I think it'd be smart of the other ones to also see this as a possible solution to their to their issues before they come over and we tell them the same thing, and the neighborhood shows up and we tell them the same thing. Now, that's not to say that the rest of the board members are going to tell me, well, guess what? You just one vote out of 5. They can do that, and they could do that. But it simply seems to me that once we go into this path of trying to work something out, it would be detrimental to everybody involved to just simply throw it away. It's the opportunity that Mr. Pelucas has to solve his issue, and other people have, of making sure they have some control over what happens in the neighborhood. Not control in terms of you will be able to tell everybody what to do, but you will be able to make your points, as Eric did and everybody else is doing, that you like certain, the nature of your neighborhood to remain a certain way. And this is what these meetings are for.
Sure, right? I understand that. I just wanted to know if there was an end date. I guess there's no end date in sight.
I guess that's going to be decided mostly by you all when you get together. I think that the representatives of the different owners are, not all of them are here, but I'm sure they're going to find out what happened.
Okay, so once we do that and we have the postponement and we reschedule, then we'll have this hearing again. Is that the process?
I think at this particular time, I think the Planning and Zoning meeting might be too late to postpone, but it would be up to the owners, the ones that made that application. We go through a process, a legal advertisement process, and I'm sure that if we have a meeting scheduled, we may have already happened. But the owners of the properties, which is the applicants of the properties, always have the right, like they did today, to say, okay, well, we like this postponed. We got to work this out. We'll bring it back to you. Now, normally there's 2 ways to postpone them. One is to continue them. I think it's continuing them to is it table to a date certain or continue to a date certain? With either one? No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking the attorney. No, what I'm saying is there is no certain date that is ready for us to continue it to, right? Because it's been posted and there's a hearing, so we may have to just continue it to a date certain.
Mr. Chairman, you could continue it to a certain date or a specific date, or you can just, for now, postpone it, and then staff would advertise and repost the property if.
Here's what happens. If we postpone it indefinitely, it will have to be, it will have to be advertised again with 14 days ahead, and the neighborhood's gonna have to be noticed, et cetera, et cetera. So there's 2 ways to go about it. The other one is to say, well, we'll take this up on June, whatever the meeting is, and take that up that day. I myself, I'm not inclined to put a date certain on it until I feel that the neighborhood and the applicants have gotten together and discussed these issues. But again, that still hasn't been decided. So, okay?
I was just wondering if there was an expiration date, but apparently there is not, so that's fine.
Well, there could be, but, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing. I think we, talked about this enough. Hopefully something will work out that comes out better than what we got right now. I'll entertain, well, are we supposed to make a motion to postpone it, or can I just simply individually postpone it? I mean, the applicant's already made an application to postpone it indefinitely, so do we make a motion to postpone it?
Mr. Chairman, you need a motion to approve it, a motion to deny it, or a motion to continue to a date certain.
See, that's what every time I do this, an attorney comes up with something else. So it's a motion to continue to a date certain. Or deny it, or approve it, or continue to a date certain. The applicant has asked for it to be continued. So if we put a date certain on it, it sort of kind of defeats the purpose of, sending you back to talk to the rest of them, but we can put a date certain way up ahead. It may not even be the same case when they bring it back. Right? So why don't we do that? Why don't we postpone it? Let me take a look at the calendar. And we'll postpone it to a date certain, and if it's not ready then, we can deal with it then. What are the 2 meetings in July? I don't want to make it very...
7th and the 19th.
Yeah, well, it's a rough time to be involved in it, but we have June, July, and August. August is pretty clear. The second day of August, is that the first time we have a meeting? We're going to postpone it till the second day of August, giving plenty of time for things to change along the way.
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion to be postponed until August 2nd meeting.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, there's motions and plenty of seconds to postpone it until August the 2nd. Take Supervisor Simmons. Any more discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This is not a very satisfying outcome. Sometimes it isn't like this, but it's moving the process forward, and there will be a resolution to this.
I would hope all of y'all could get together and come up with an amicable agreement for the neighborhood, because I know you guys are very passionate about your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you
hopefully-
very much for coming and taking the time. Like I said, I mean, it's maybe not necessarily how you expected the meeting to go, but wow. Well, let a moment to clear the room. This thing is like, riding a Harley with no helmet or anything. Oh, we never have helmet. How these people? Shut up.
Where'd everybody go?
I don't think they can come up with.
What happened?
Dang, you know how to clean a room, Tony. You know how to clear a room.
Clear the room. But now we can move. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, just wait until they close the door. Where's he at? He also cleared the room.
Did he get pulled out with that punch?
I guess he's gonna set up a date or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item in the board agenda, once we clear that, is discussion and possible action to adopt the guiding policies and principles for the 2012 redistricting process. I thought we did that.
No,
Oh, okay.
We talked about it.
We talked about it, right? You have something?
What do we?
Oh, wait a minute. We're gonna finish the Planning and Zoning Commission items. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have moved from one to another.
Oh, no, she got away.
Okay, the other one is a regular hearing for Development Planning and Services Division. I'm going to postpone the other item, not table it, just postpone it, and move on to, come in, you wait. So discussion concerning possible changes to the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 12009.05, rules of procedure to limit the number of hearings to determine compliance, which can be held for zoning violations to a maximum of 2, and set them at a date not to exceed 100 days from the first hearing to determine compliance. Maggie, I think you're following, what we asked you to do, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this item came before you a couple months ago concerning changes to the zoning ordinance, specifically section 1209, so that there could be a limit to the number of hearings that are held by the hearing officer for zoning violation hearings, and then the maximum amount of time that a
Yeah,
case.
this was
can be
done to shorten the time between someone's complaint and some resolution to the complaint. And before, I guess there was a lot of flexibility about postponing dates and, standing dates so that an item could take years to resolve. What we're trying to do here is tighten up the process so that an item that there's a complaint on will have to be resolved within a certain amount of time. I think it's good. I think that part of the complaint people have about government is that it is too slow to react to anything. So this will help us by setting out the guidelines. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, the packet in your, on your agenda packet does have the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance, so.
Let me open it up to the public because I think this one is a public hearing type item. So I'm opening it up to the public. I'm opening the public hearing up. Are there any comments or discussions from the public, either in person or digital? If not, I'll close the public hearing and go back to regular order. And I'll entertain a motion or comments from the board.
Make a motion that we, I guess, approve the changes to Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 1209.05.
And Mr. Chairman, the staff's recommended motion is to provide staff with input and then return this item to the Planning and Zoning Commission so they can conduct a public hearing.
Oh, yours too slow. All right, so the direction is to go ahead and take these changes up to the Planning and Zoning Commission, route them through and get them to us. Okay, so we conducted a public hearing, we're giving you direction. So you don't need motion to get direction? Well, okay, well, I need a motion to direct staff to take
I'll
it
make
to
a
planning.
motion, we direct staff to continue on with the section change to 1209.05.
I would suspect that this would be like the opposite, right? It would go to planning and zoning, but I guess you wanted to make sure that if it went to planning and zoning, it would be something we like, otherwise you'd do it again. Right, okay, got it. Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all those in favor, there's a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Let me breathe a second here.
We're everywhere today.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It passed. I just want to breathe a second before I bring in the district information. This has been a whirlwind of activity.
Maybe we should have cut it to 90 days.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, we'll get the neighborhood involved in it. Okay, so we're going to go back to,
Elections.
I know, but I'm just looking, I'm moving it back.
Item 3 in discussion and action.
So we're gonna move back and open up. We're done with the regular public and public hearing items. And we're gonna go back to discussion and action items. And the first item, thank you, Maggie. And the first item in the agenda is for county administration, discussion and action to adopt guiding policies and principles for the 2021st redistricting process. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Tiffany Anderson, Election Director for Yuma County. This morning, we have before you the draft guiding policies and principles for the 2001 redistricting process. A little bit of background here. The first item on the draft policies and principles is a requirement according to the United States Constitution and the Voting Rights Act. The others are considered best practices in redistricting and are voluntary to adopt at this point. Compactness and having a contiguous space is considered best practices, so it doesn't appear as if any of our districts are gerrymandered in any way. Preservation of political subdivision, that includes getting our data in census blocks and tracts. So we wouldn't want to break up a city in a different district to separate that political subdivision. Preserving communities of interest is always a best practice for redistricting, so you're making sure that you're not diluting a vote for that community of interest. Preservation of prior districts, the core of prior districts, is simply saying that we wouldn't want to move a district considerably away from what is existing. Avoid pairing incumbents. If there was some sort of district shifting where some of our incumbents on the Board of Supervisors or Justice of the Peace wouldn't be competing for that position in the next election to determine who would be representing that district. And finally, favoring or disfavoring an incumbent, candidate, or party is prohibited. Essentially, being non-biased in looking at how how those districts are determined.
So in reality, a lot of that is discussion items. The actual guiding policies are just a one-page statement, isn't it?
Correct.
So it talks about representation, compactness, continuity, preservation of political subdivisions, preservation of the community interest, preservation of the cores of prior districts, avoid pairing incumbents, favoring or disfavoring an incumbent candidate or party. And that's it. That's pretty extensive when you look at it, but it's really condensed. The rest of it, it's just fill in. I mean, when you look at the calendar, it's already done because, I mean, the census only turned out their numbers as of last week, and it was supposed to be on February 28th, that kind of stuff. So those are just movable things. These are the guiding principles, right? And that's all you're asking for us to do, just accept the guiding principles so we have a document that basically follows those guidelines.
Correct.
Are there any questions or comments?
No.
If not, I'll.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we adopt these guiding policies and principles for the 2021 redistricting process.
I second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the guiding policies and principles for the 2021 redistricting process. Just a small reminder, please get your appointments as soon as possible so we can get the process moving. Any more discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And I do want to thank the board not to make it difficult because this is when it starts getting a little difficult. These are pretty much guiding principles. They're just set, they're not set in stone, but they are what the law requires.
And this is what we will be taking forward to the commission to have them abide by these guiding principles as they fulfill their duties on the Redistricting Advisory Commission.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much.
Right. All right, that takes care of that. And we move on to possible action regarding the American Rescue Plan Act to prioritize potential projects and programs in which the county should invest in the Act funds in accordance with guidance from the U.S. Treasury. Are we ready for that?
Chairman, you had asked that I put this on the agenda.
No, it's fine. I mean,
So it may be a little premature just because the U.S. Treasury has not provided any additional guidelines, and it is anticipated that they won't until May 10th. So it might be that we want to wait until the next
I think we gotta wait. I think we should wait until we know what those guidelines are. And second, I think that we should start making a list of projects because I don't see a list.
Right, so this is your opportunity if you do want to start talking about a list or just basic priorities as we go forward, or I can put it on the next agenda. We might have more information then.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I mean, are we going to wait for some, I mean, we got four items here that we can basically
work on.
The funds can be used. So is that's already in stone? Or are we waiting for the policies for that, or are they going to add something else?
They're going to explain what these four things mean because there's not clarity right now. For instance, on number 4, which says make investments in water, wastewater, and broadband infrastructure, the actual law, it's the bill that was passed, talked about infrastructure including water, sewer, and broadband. So is it just those 3, or is there more that can be used to pay for through these funds? So U.S. Treasury has been asked, and NACO's been very diligent about asking them specific questions. How do you, please clarify this statement, please clarify this. So they're going to be coming out with very detailed guidance about what these things mean and what's eligible for use. And it probably is going to get broader, not narrower. So I think that's good. That gives us more opportunities to identify additional projects that might come under these categories.
Let me tell you 2 categories that are going to be difficult to begin with. One is going to be that provide government services affected by a revenue reduction. I think that we need to, get off of that one. It's going to be tough to prove that we had a revenue reduction during the pandemic. The first one, respond to COVID-19 emergencies and address its economic effects. I mean, that's so broad that it talks about, assisting households, assisting small businesses, nonprofits, industries like tourism and hospitality. I mean, that's so broad that unless the Treasury, defines that, it's going to be, just way broad. The second, provide premium pay. That also would probably apply mostly to, I don't know, sheriff department or the health department, or people that are really, that we can really point to as saying, well, they had to stay overtime, or they had to be out in front of people when this COVID thing was at its peak. But right now, it's going to be difficult to support because we already did that. I think we went back and did that for a while.
This provision actually talks about providing premium pay to essential employees or grants to their employers. So it's not limited to county government. You could actually select some employers and businesses out in the community and pay them to pay the premium pay to their employees. So it's very, very broad. And I think that would be a difficult thing to start choosing which companies to provide premium pay for and which ones or not. So that's a really difficult one to.
Supposedly the guidance is going to be more specific. So hopefully after May the 10th or whatever that's supposed to be, we'll get more specific guidance because, make investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. I mean, we don't do water. We don't do sewer. I mean, we don't have, directly. So what we end up with is broadband. Well, yeah.
Well,
we don't
we've
run
got
them.
water like out in Tacna that could help with.
Yeah, well, that's my point, but tying it to the COVID situation. I mean, I know that, but that's what it doesn't say. It doesn't say anything about, whether you need to tie it. Otherwise, this is a, infrastructure bill?
Well, it's almost like that because any of those water, sewer, or broadband, that was an issue when the pandemic was.
All right, well, okay, broadband is easy for me.
Me too.
Now, water and sewer is difficult unless we have a project, like, for example, the Orange Grove area, connecting it to the city sewer, in Tacna, some sort of, so I guess what I'm saying is, look, if you guys got a project out there that you think it's gonna need funds, bring it up quickly, because it's gotta be one of
one
the.
I wanted to bring up.
Okay, well, bring them out. I'm not saying that it's going to qualify, just bring them out quickly so that they can get,
Really
how
help
long do we
them.
have to spend the money? Do you know?
Orange Grove and.
Additional guidance will be coming out on that as well.
What's the?
I think it's for a 2-year period on some of the items, but I can't tell you.
Broadbands too.
And, Mr. Chair, that's one, I remember, Susan, I sent you an email about, when I saw this, and that was one thing because that sewer deal, water, the Orange Grove already has.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, and that's county. No, it's county.
They're still
They're
county?
still county, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Can we ask the officer to have them step away from the door?
Who?
Everybody outside, if they can just step away from the door. They keep getting bleed through.
Orange Grove and Rancho Viejo are still.
All right, so here's what I think we need to give direction to. We need to give direction to Scott and, Josh, Scott, and the public. Yeah, we need to find some projects. I mean, look, even this crusher that you were talking about, crushing rocks. I mean, it sounds really preposterous, but there could be funds to do some things that help.
And then we continue to use that machinery.
Yeah, forever.
Forever.
Yeah. So look, I don't know how many millions that will come, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be every time that you get this until you get the infrastructure bill passed. Then we got another bunch of infrastructure bills to get.
And what I would, suggest is, because I know we've been talking about broadband for the longest time, and that's something really new. I said broadband should be the priority, and like I said in that email, if there's money left, then, we do tackle sewer and water throughout whatever we can,
And let's not,
throughout the county.
and let's not forget one priority, and that's one that you're not going to get any arguments from anyone. It's the health department.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a huge amount of money, I'm not going to say how much, but if you get a few $1 million left over, I'm certain that we can go ahead and apply them to the health department and lower the cost for the taxpayers of the health district. We could do additional remodeling, a new administrative bill. If we could do something there that we're looking at doing. I don't think what we can do is simply build the administrative building, for example, and sound or even look good at all. But I think that the health department, broadband, some of the projects, the water, sewer, and Tacna, and the Orange Grove, I think
Tacna's just a water project.
I totally agree, Mr. Chair, but one of the things I don't see here is building structures. So unless it comes up, then, but if it's not there, that's why I'm asking if it's just strictly
Right, well,
those
so
four.
we'll wait until we get some guidelines, okay? Before we start. And this was just a general discussion about ideas of what the money could be used on. So, you guys, if you record this, you recorded that we talked about the Tacna, we talked about the Orange Grove area, we talked about broadband as being the #1 priority we have, and we also talked about the health department being one of the areas where we may be able to utilize some of these funds if they're restricted to pandemic type situations, okay?
We'll bring it back at a future agenda.
All right. And, since we now have an economic development person, we may want to start looking at how we can support the economic development areas outside the city of Yuma or outside the city of San Luis or Somerton. The foothills is a great area to look at. And, the outlying areas, because we do have businesses. Some of them are service businesses outside the city limits that may need some support through this situation. I think the construction industry is really struggling right now with all the cost increases and so forth. I mean, it's still part of that pandemic, hit, so, whatever. But, I mean, I didn't want to open that up, but, I mean, it's done. So let's move on.
Toilet paper be
Toilet paper, roll paper, look, guys.
TMI.
Oh, even Tony got back here. Oh, this is the heavy hitters all came in. Yeah, thank you very much, Tony. We move on to the next item. Yeah, Tony, we're gonna wait until we get better, more direct instructions or whatever, guidance from the Department of Treasury before we start deciding what projects we would look into supporting, okay? All right, so we move on to, and I did ask that item to be put in here, so, sorry. We moved through the planning and zoning agenda, so we're now to discussion regarding legislative issues.
Good morning.
2 minutes. Nah,
Chairman of the board, I can do it in 3. Chairman of the board, members of the board, Ian McGahee, Deputy County Administrator, just a brief update on a few items. Last week was another slow week at the state capitol, very minimal action. The County Supervisors Association reports no formal progress on the proposed tax package or budget and says it's possible legislators will pause the session until they get closer to a budget. There are a couple of bills of interest I wanted to mention that were sent to the governor's desk last week. HB 2700 was passed by the House on Thursday. It would increase salaries for the positions of assessors, attorneys, recorders, school superintendents, sheriffs, supervisors, treasurers by $20,000 for each position, effective January 1st, 2025, as well as a $20,000 increase to the salary of a clerk of Superior Court, effective January 1st, 2023.
Is it Supreme Court clerk or Superior Court clerk?
Oh, my bad, thank you, Superior Court clerk. The House unanimously passed HB 2181, which requires a write-in candidate for any office in any election to have lived in the county, city, town, or district for 120 days before the date of the election. It also allows county election officials to begin tallying early ballots immediately after the envelope and completed affidavit are processed and delivered, rather than waiting 14 days before the election. The governor is expected to sign both of those bills. A brief update on PM 10. Yuma County staff met with ADEQ recently to discuss reasonable alternatives to requiring the paving of roads, which of course is a great expense and diverts limited funds away from other critical transportation infrastructure projects. ADEQ indicated that the EPA might be agreeable to a slurry seal rather than asphalt, although they indicated chemical treatments would only be acceptable as an interim measure. EPA wants to see a more permanent solution. ADEQ is also interested in obtaining a full accounting of what they call orphaned roads. Those are roads within the non-attainment area that are not currently under county maintenance. They say they may be able to provide funding towards such an effort, which could possibly include traffic counts. However, they once again stated EPA is expected to require the county to control a certain amount of unpaved road each year for roads that have yet to meet, that will meet yet to be a determined traffic threshold. Tongue twister.
It's Monday.
ADQ expressed interest in brainstorming with the Board of Supervisors to find solutions. However, they want to conduct some further outreach first, so I'll keep you posted on that. Local First Arizona, in partnership with the Governor's Office and the Arizona Commerce Authority, has launched the Arizona Economic Recovery Center to help local businesses and rural communities apply and win competitive federal economic recovery grants. The center will assist cities, towns, counties, and nonprofits in researching and simplifying grants and stimulus opportunities, including identifying and connecting them to funding resources. The center will also assist in providing grant writing assistance. So more information is available at localfirstaz.com. And as you know, preliminary numbers with national and state populations from the 2020 U.S. Census were released. While Arizona's population grew by 12%, it fell short by 80,000 residents of picking up a 10th seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. That was, of course, a surprise to many. The state had one of the lowest response rates in the country. Overall, Texas gains 2 seats, gaining 1 seat each. Colorado, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, and Oregon losing 1 seat each. California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. New York, as you likely heard, needed only 89 more residents to keep its seat. The national population grew 7.4% overall, the slowest since the Great Depression, and more data, including population numbers for cities, towns, and counties, will be released in the coming weeks and months. And finally, the Federal Communications Commission held a webinar last week in advance of rollout of its new $3.2 billion emergency broadband benefit program. The program provides a temporary discount on monthly broadband bills for qualifying low-income households. Eligible households can receive up to a $50 per month discount for broadband service and associated equipment rentals, and a one-time discount of up to $100 for a computer or a tablet.
How do they get that, excuse me, how do they get that information out to those families?
There's
Well, okay, thank you.
And there's a great website with a lot of information, getemergencybroadband.org. Qualification is based on enrollment in certain current benefit programs, such as free and reduced school lunches, or by meeting certain income criteria. The program will end once program funds are exhausted, or 6 months after a declaration to the end of the COVID-19 pandemic, whichever comes first. So consumers can begin applying to this program May 12th. And more information, as I mentioned, is available at that website, getemergencybroadband.org, and we will be doing some publicity locally, of course, to get the word out. So that is my report. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, the legislature only has so many more days till they lose their per diem, so, or discount their per diem. Is that the reason why?
You should
they're
know,
going
right?
home? I've been there, done that, yes.
So it means that once they lose the per diem, they'll move really fast.
Exactly what CSA said, that per diem is being cut this week, and so that's certainly an incentive to either speed things up or to take a pause until that budget is closer.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll have a chance to meet with them, legislators again sometime before they actually go and finish up. We'll try to see if we can put something together. Last one didn't pan out the way we liked it. I mean, there was not enough participation to make it worth meeting with the legislators. But I mean, it was a busy weekend. It was a busy week in general. All right, we'll continue, making our best efforts, or, trying our best to get them to respond and see if we can, give us a little bit of a heads up of what's coming up. Unfortunately for me, I think we have very active, supervisors in the board that, keep up with this stuff. So make sure you let us know if there's anything we can do. Supervisor Pancras, Supervisor Lyons. Okay. I mean, you guys seem to keep a close eye on those things happening over there. Do you have any federal reports?
That's the scary part.
Not other than the things I mentioned.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Was there an executive session?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that we do executive session now, and then we'll do the budget after that.
Right. Do we need to remove everyone?
Yes, and I'll invite Dave Hillen to come in.
Okay, well then, you guys need to step aside, step up, and we will, call you back as soon as we can.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Okay, wait until he clicks it back
Eric's
on.
back on.
Yeah, all right. So we're now back into regular session. We had an executive session. It was motion to go into executive session. It was second to come back out of executive session. Directions have been given, Mr. Highland, to, proceed. And now we're back into regular session. We do have a couple of items. One is the budget presentation. I am postponing the budget presentation until 1 p.m. And I am taking the event calendar and current events as quickly as possible.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I attended the Center for Future webinar, the Future of Arizona webinar. I had a co-ed meeting. I went to a broadband workshop. I went to the budget review meeting. I went out and talked to the Sierra Sands constituents. I was at the special board meeting. I attended the BASW board meeting and the YMPO meeting, and I attended 2 Arizona at Work provider meetings, both AWCs and EQUIS, and that's it. Okay.
Thank you. Supervisor Lyons.
About the same.
Thank you. Skip it over to Supervisor Stevens.
Oh, me? Just
You said you wanted it fast.
There you go. That was fast.
numerous different meetings with individuals and groups. Had a meeting with the BRT as well, also the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is almost done, and Public Safety Retirement Board meeting.
Supervisor Fortune?
Not much. Just, you know, I was trying to get, I was in a bad area for to join the meeting, YMPO meeting on Thursday, but because I was traveling and I couldn't get on, so just, I was hoping, since I didn't get a call, I figured that they had a quorum. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, YMPO, yes, we did.
Yeah, I have, the law of unintended consequences hit me this week when I had to hold a meeting of the Western Arizona Economic Development Corporation. That has become a time-consuming type. I did not realize just how much. It's going through a lot of changes. It's now a 3-county board that discusses EDA projects, and I mean, it's just really taken up a lot of time. I'm sort of grateful that Ian is, helping out with that. One of the things that may be interesting to talk about is that the mask wearing proclamation. I am really looking forward to removing it as soon as possible, and I'm looking forward to taking it off sometime before July. So I'm just warning everybody because I think we're pretty much there, and I don't like to see how, some of us wear it, some of us don't wear it. I think it sort of shows just where we're at as a society, but at some particular point, we do have to have an ending to a lot of this stuff, and I think it's time I started talking about it. It is my proclamation, but it does impact the county. And for example, if I see Susan and I see Desiree wearing a mask, and I see Bill wearing a mask, and then I see us not wearing a mask, and it's getting to a point now that it's become almost a choice.
I'm wearing one.
Supervisor Porches has now put on his on, and I took mine off. And I think that the CDC guidelines basically tell us that if we all been vaccinated, we're okay not to wear one, even inside. So at this particular time, I just want to make sure that we get this, I think that that's the choice that people would make. I mean, if they want to keep wearing it, that should be a choice. But the proclamation, I think I'm going to remove it as soon as possible.
So county offices are open back up?
The county offices have always been open. It's just that, without wearing a mask coming in, it'll probably be within the next few weeks, not too long, because I don't want to take too long to do that.
Good.
Okay? All right, then now we take a break. Susan? Now we take a break and go into lunch and come back at 1.
Susan had the list.
Susan, you had the list. Oh, Susan, you had the report. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, well.
In the interest of time, I'll just mention that I did attend the YMPO meeting virtually, GYPA board meeting as well, virtually. And then last Friday, we had our county administration years of service recognition lunch. And it was very nice to actually be in a room where we could see each other and congratulate each other. And it was very nice. And I think next Wednesday, we're having a salsa contest for the building. So that should be fun as well.
Salsa?
Yes.
Dance
salsa.
or to eat?
Salsa
to eat.
Oh, okay.
When is that?
Just wanted to verify.
Oh, this.
Dutch, yeah,
When?
2:30.
This Wednesday?
May 5th.
Well, you know, it's May the 10th, it's Mother's Day in Mexico, and May the 9th, I think it's Mother's Day here, and I want to take the opportunity to wish you well, mothers, and congratulations, Happy Mother's Day for everybody that's listening, for all of you that had that particular experience of being a mother. Some of you, well, I'm not gonna go into that, but, okay, we're gonna have to take a break. Cut it off and take a break. We'll be back at 1 with the regular session. We'll start with the budget hearing at 1 p.m. Thank you.